Hey, here we are.
Yeah, we're already fighting over who's first and shit.
Well, we're not. I mean, I don't care if I'm first or not. I'm always first because I'm the one sitting here setting this fucking stream up.
For y'all who don't make the live streams, that minute or so that we're getting ready and running the fucking loading screen or whatever you want to call it, the warm-up screen, the shit that happens in the damn comment sections is a trip because we all start fucking fighting over who was first in it. I don't do it all the time, but then I get in there and start messing with them. Bee's Nest is in there. Murder Hornet's Nest is in there talking shit. See who else is in there. DJ Maniac in there talking shit. He's always first. I don't understand how he makes it.
Pretty much.
Well, he can get in there before me.
You're sitting right there.
I know when it's going to start. I don't get it.
Well,
He's on New York time.
We start. Well, so are we.
His time moves faster in New York.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he's actually able to be first because he's like a few minutes ahead of us. Like,
yeah, it's like a time warp.
It's like a time warp. Sure,
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Looking for them, the time-space continuum goes a little bit slower. It goes a little bit faster for them, I guess. So a second for them is like 4 seconds for us. So
yeah, okay.
They can move fast.
That's
kind of like that Star Trek episode where people were speeding up and it sounded like a buzzing in your ear.
Yeah.
Remember that? They couldn't even see him because they were walking in and out.
There was a sketch on Mystery Science Theater where they did that too, where they were all like 2 or 3 seconds off from one another because of like a time distortion.
Yeah.
It's funny because you said like time going faster in New York. It reminded me of this thing I was watching earlier about things like for Europeans and stuff like visiting the South. And one of the things they said that I thought was kind of funny, even though it doesn't apply like across the board, but I know what they're getting at. So they said like if you come to the South, it's like when people says, oh, we'll be there at 8:00. It's like, yeah, it might be more like 8:15, 8:30 because people are like kind of laid back and not really like worried about.
Right.
And I was like, so you guys know my mom?
Yeah. They're also not in a hurry. I'm
not like that though. I'm actually very punctual.
Yeah. We are because we lived everywhere, But no, in Mississippi the fucking clock doesn't really matter that much. Kind of like the Middle East is like that.
In a way,
you can just kind of sit around.
I get that, but on the other end of that, like to me, it seems a little bit like arrogant and rude because you're making other people wait for you because you are clearly more important than them. You know what I mean?
They just don't see things that way.
I know, but that's kind of because they're not the ones on the receiving end of it. That's why.
No, they
know
are.
What I mean?
They are.
You know what I mean?
They don't care.
But
no, they'll be in a line waiting, and they don't care.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about like if you're going to meet somebody and you say, "Hey, let's go meet somebody like at X." Time, and the person that has to wait around for your dumb ass, it's like I'm not gonna think you're laid back. I'm just gonna think you're a jerk.
Well, I don't recall that actually. I think that's something. In Mississippi we didn't do that. If you meet up at 4:00, it's gonna be 4. Yeah. But if you go to a store and there's people in line waiting for the checkout, you're at the local grocery store. There might be 2 or 3 people ahead of you. Everybody knows each other, and the fucking cashier's talking to the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they know they're going to talk to everybody, Because there's only going to be fucking 10 people in the store that day, probably. So everything's slower.
I mean, I get that too, but I mean, I was born in the South, but even so, I'm just kind of like, hurry up! Some of us have shit to do.
Depends on where you are.
I get like my dad was real impatient, even though he was born in the South too, so I think I got a lot of that. I'm a very, very impatient person. No. I'm just like, let's go, move it along.
No. Where my dad lives in Heidelberg, Mississippi. Like I said, I think there's 600 people there now. There's still kind of a main street with a couple of stores on it. Oh no, man! They're lucky to get 3 or 4 customers a day. It's going to be slow, chucking in and out. It's like an event. It's a social event.
Whoa, we got somebody in, Earl.
They're going to talk. They're going to go. Okay, the whole bagging process, because you don't have anywhere to go. If you had somewhere to go, you wouldn't be living there.
That's true.
Yeah. You would not be living there.
So it's not so it's not like you're holding anybody up from anything super important.
No.
And Gramthars Hammer, and I wanted to bring this up too. Gramthars Hammer said, speaking of time warps, Meatloaf passed away yesterday. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Louis Anderson died too.
Yeah.
Although I will say, this is funny because somebody else also mentioned that too. I thought Louis Anderson died a few years ago, but I guess not. I was maybe thinking of somebody else.
Graham, today is Open Line Friday, people. I know people are starting to just come in. I think we're at 20. It's Open Lines Friday. Anything you guys want to fucking talk about, we can talk about it. Just drop it in the comment section. We do have some stuff lined up. You know, if the show gets kind of dead, we can talk about some of those urban legends from the last show. We had a bunch of them.
Although we covered a lot more of them than I thought we did. When I went back through my notes, I was kind of like, oh, well, there's like some that I could still talk about. But we don't have to talk about that. It's fine. But you know what I mean.
I wanted to tell Graham that had a special delivery today from PSA. I got my first fucking nickel boron fucking bolt carrier group for AR-15. Fucking, I wanted chrome, but you can't get them anymore. I don't, you know, the companies that make them, they're never in stock. So I got that nickel boron. It's a Toolcraft, but it's unmarked Toolcraft. That's who made it. Man, it looks fucking fine, man. I was studying up before I got it. They were on sale, man. You can run them dry. I didn't know. I just put a light coat of that damn high temperature wheel bearing grease on them, on the main part of the body. Wipe it dry, just so it's kind of slick. I think that might be the way to go today, 21st century. That nickel boron. It looks pretty good.
Murder Hornet Return says, I hate those people at the pharmacy that hold up the line asking questions when they've probably been taking that same meds for years. Yeah, I've seen like a lot of people do that. And I'm kind of like, well, that's the reason I thought that many years ago, now they give you that really exhaustive printout that says what all the side effects are and, like, you know, call the doctor if this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, that's why they're giving you that, so you don't have to, like, sit there and interrogate the pharmacist because there's shit to do. And, and he says, always old people, just get your shit and move on. Pretty much. I mean, you know, I hate to pick on old people because I'm old too, but, I mean, I'm not that old, but... I mean, man, you got coupons for everything. You're paying with change. Get the fuck out of here with that. It's the 21st century. We don't need to do that anymore. Just stop being so fucking slow. Some of us got places to be. It's funny because remember we were talking about because when we were in high school and you know, you could leave to go to lunch in some places. So most of the time, if I had money, like, and I didn't bring my lunch, then there was a McDonald's right behind the high school, so a lot of us just kind of walk over there and get something to eat, like, real quick. And it seemed that every single time that you went there was, like, this massive line of senior citizens getting lunch at the same time that the high school kids were trying to get lunch, and we only had 50 minutes, like, to get food and eat it and go back to class. But it seemed like the older people just didn't give zero fucks about that. They gave zero fucks about that. They're like, nope, we're just going to sit in here all day and hem and haw and pay with change and have coupons and shit like that. Yeah. This is like back in the late 80s, though.
Richie's asking me if the BCG is staked. This is all fucking code. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, you just don't know. Yeah, they're all staked. Anything mil-spec or above is going to be staked. But here's the thing, man. This internet is fucking funny. They'll take one little small thing and they'll focus in on it. They go, oh, it's not staked enough. You just don't want the damn Allen screws to rotate. And even unstaked, as long as it was done correctly and you had the torque specs proper, especially if you put something like red Loctite in it, it's not going to come unstaked. That's like that damn castle nut on the back of the damn fucking buffer tube. Well, it's got to be fucking staked. No, it doesn't. It does not have to be staked. They staked that shit on GI fucking AR-15s and fucking M4s because they wanted to keep fucking Joe Snuffy out of that damn rear end because to pass inspections, he'd try to take that castle nut off and get in there and clean fucking... That way he couldn't get dinged in an inspection. They just didn't want troops taking that off. If you fucking torque it to spec, it won't loosen. And if it does loosen, the buttstock doesn't fall off. People think it'll fall apart, and it won't. So I never fucking stake those fucking castle nuts. It's fucking stupid. Torque it to spec. That's all I said.
Zach says, why does it always seem like groups of celebrities die all at once in some periods? I don't know if it's so much... I don't know. I guess like with anything, you're going to get clustering. And honestly, I think what happens, yeah, because we've had, like, before Louis Anderson died, Meatloaf died, Betty White died, and Bob Saget died. I think that celebrities are probably, like, popping their clogs all the time, but it's only the ones that have reached a level of fame where everybody knows who they are instead of just, like, a kind of a smaller group. So maybe that's why. I'm not really sure. Lee Warner says, who is sexier in their prime, Susie Sue or Debbie Harry?
Debbie Harry.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, it's...
Debbie Harry.
I'm probably going to lean that way, too, but that's kind of like... that's a hard...
Opinion,
it's a hard question because
yeah.
they're both, like, sexy in different ways, I guess.
As a man, if you'd ask me which one I want to hit, it'd be Debbie Harry. Although when it came to fucking, like, artistic prowess and creativity, Susie. By far. Susie was a lot more goth. But in terms of just attractiveness, I think fucking Deborah Harry was fucking more attractive.
There was something like, yeah, there was like something really, really sexy about her.
Yeah. She had good facial structure and stuff. Although, I must admit, neither one of those girls actually had the body styles that I like. They were both kind of just average. But they had good faces. They were fucking really talented.
I mean, particularly Debbie Harry, she was very, very thin back in the 70s, but that's kind of like what
that was popular then.
That was what the style was. Yeah. Susie looked more like just a regular size person.
But. Ask me about bump stocks. Do I like bump stocks? No. Fuck bump stocks. People fucking want to emulate full auto. Full auto only existed because mil-spec triggers fucking suck. It's a real fucking lot of creep, a lot of stacking. And then it's fucking a hard break, and then there's a bunch of fucking slack behind the trigger. Then the reset is fucking shitty. On a mil-spec trigger, you can't really pull it very quickly. So for safety reasons, they did that on purpose. That way Joe Shit, the Ragman, or Joe Snuffy, fucking, you know what I mean? Like just some drafty kid. You can hand him a weapon and you wouldn't accidentally discharge it. That's all it was about. You put a matched trigger with a fucking real... fucking crisp break, fucking 5 pound, even 6 pounds, with no over travel and a real short reset, you can pull that trigger fast. You can, if you ask me, you can top full auto rates of fire and maintain controllability. And you don't need full auto fire. It's not very effective. Not for what an assault rifle does, which is a carbine, really. Now, if you're talking about something like a MAC-10 or an M3, a submachine gun, yeah, full auto kind of makes more sense because it's pistol caliber and it's meant for up close in confined areas. Especially if it's suppressed, it's a lot more of a pussycat to shoot. Yeah, maybe full auto on that would be nice to have. But also, not a deal breaker. A real slick fucking 9mm small sub-type gun with a good trigger. Nice, okay, Delta. Back in the day when Delta Force was really good, they didn't use full auto, they used semi-auto. It's a lot more controllable. Single accurate shots that connect. It's just more efficient. That's all I'm going to say.
Hugo says, Jenny, I like your shirt. Thank you. I've worn it several times. I got it at FYE, of all places. I was at the mall before a movie, and there's an FYE right by the food court, and they have a whole series of these. They're really rad. I can't remember like the name of it's on here somewhere, but there's like the name of the company that makes them. They had all the old Universal monster movies, and they had like a bunch of 70s movies, like they had Jaws and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff, like in all these kind of like really cool like bold designs with like a Japanese on them and stuff, and it's like I really like them a lot. I wanted a bunch of them, but this was my favorite one.
Let me do a part 2 to what I said. Full auto. When does it matter? Belt feds. Belt feds fire support weapon. Hell yeah. That you want fucking full auto. Especially if it's something that's aviation inspired, between airplanes or aircrafts or helicopters. Miniguns on helicopters and aircraft. Yeah, you want full auto. But for small arms, full auto, you don't really need it. Good semi-auto where it's at.
Zach says, what's weird is Jack Nicholson was weirdly sexy back in the 70s, and I can't put my finger on why. He kind of
had a scumball.
He's charismatic as fuck, though. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And that's kind of like what's interesting about... I mean, I don't know. It's like, what's like... And I think I brought this up before, but like, what is men or women that I find like sexy it doesn't always have to do with what they look like. Sometimes it's like their energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
With him, it was the way he carried himself.
Yeah. That's like, if you just looked at him, it's like he's kind of funny looking, but...
He kind of had this scumball energy to him, but you liked him. You kind of
a likable scumball.
He's like a real likable scumball. Another one that was kind of like that was Bruce Dern. He kind of was scum, but you kind of liked him.
Yeah. There's a lot of actors like that.
Yeah.
There's probably like more actors like that than actresses that are like that, because I kind of feel like actresses up until like recently, unless you're like a character actor, you know, women had to look a certain way, but dudes could kind of look like whatever, and you know.
Yeah, you liked those two dudes because you got to know them through their roles.
Yeah.
It had a lot to do with it. So it was like you were seeing somebody that you knew.
Yeah.
You could recognize them. You kind of feel a simpatico.
And as far as the sexy thing, Gramthars Hammer also says Kate Bush or Bjork. Bjork. Kate Bush is beautiful, but not sexy though. Yeah. Bjork seems kind of like sexy, also kind of crazy, but in a hot way. You know what I mean? I always liked her because she was like kind of like a weirdo. So you know, I kind of like that. I thought Debbie Harry was dead. No, she's not.
She's around.
Yeah, she's not around.
Last time I saw her, she was holding it together too. She still looked good.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't look like she did when she was a kid, right? But like none of us do. So. Yeah. Sheila Ann says, Debbie is living in a 55 and over community in New Jersey now. I feel old. Yeah. Oh, my God. Did you also see Gramthars Hammer said, I found some pics earlier today of Steve R. and Pat E. from a backpacking trip in a shoebox of old photos. Full-size mullets and all. Regale the audience with stories of Pat and Steve and the Love Hotel.
The Love Hotel. Yeah. I already talked about that.
I thought you talked about the Love Hotel already.
Yeah, I talked about Al Nermy.
That's right.
Yeah. And his fucking pathological line. Yeah, you know, I fucking saw his party boat. Fucking boat hit it. I jumped in and saved them all. I didn't tell that story, but maybe I shouldn't talk about a motherfucker in a public.
That's what I mean. It's like sometimes we say stuff about like people, and I'm always just kind of like on the off chance that one of them's actually like watching this. We're like, oh man, we're gonna get in big trouble.
Steve was like, "What happened?" Yeah, we were, you know, drinking a few beers, fucking down the lake, and saw this party barge, and got a speedboat, hit it, fucking cut it right in half. People started drowning. They were all drunk. I jumped in and saved them.
I remember you telling me.
Yeah, how many did you save? Like 3 or 4. 3 or 4.
Like, you'd think if you'd save people's lives, you'd remember how many it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that would seem like it would really kind of like
you didn't know about that?
Itself.
I thought I told you about that.
I'm a fucking hero, basically.
Like, Pat, I've known you your whole life, man. You never told me that. Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years ago.
It's because I'm so modest, and it's like I just never thought to bring it up. Is that
so
what
you were how old when this happened? That means you were like 13. Yeah, I was probably about 13. Yeah. 13, 14, yeah. I've been 15.
Oh my God, seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, Graham goes, I doubt Pat's watching. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I kind of like don't worry about it. I mean, obviously, the more drinks I have, the less I worry about it, but I do kind of think of it sometimes, like, at random, like, the next day, and I'm like, oh, shit, did we say something, like, really bad about somebody in there?
Yeah.
I don't think, like, because I kind of feel like, other than you guys, but probably, like, people that maybe know us in real life, I kind of feel like they probably see enough of us in real life. They don't really need to, like, watch more hours of us. They're like, yeah, we have enough of y'all motherfuckers in real life.
No, that's not what it is.
I'm just kidding.
It's the same thing because they do stuff in public for a living too. Some of them are fucking belly dancers and we don't watch their shit either. Some of them are porn stars. We don't watch their shit.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not the person that you know. You know them from how you know them at the clubs, and you don't really care what they do for a living.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's more about.
I mean, we have gone and seen, like, you know, we have friends that have bands and
we'll see
and shit like that, and we go see that, or like, you know.
Yeah, but we're not watching all their interviews and stuff that they're having. Fucking,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we don't watch all that.
Because it's like, yeah, I know that motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't need to. We know him. We don't need to watch his interview. You know, it's not like we're watching all of Mary Lynn's stuff. You know, I don't think I only saw like a couple of Mary Lynn's movies. I saw that last one. You know, the fucking one with the time travel.
Oh, that's right. What the hell is that one called?
I forgot. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, that Netflix one.
Had all. It was a good movie.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Although, I mean, I remember it being good. It did. I mean, it was one of those ones that was like a big spectacle one, and you're like, yeah, that was pretty good, but I don't really remember much about it. Otherwise,
yeah, and she does all the stand-up stuff. I don't watch any of that.
Yeah.
She'll be on Netflix. She'll be on. I guess about a week ago, she was on Instagram. She was live streaming, talking to all her friends, and I jump in there and start fucking trolling her, and we start talking about fucking old times for a while. She told everybody who I was, only for a few minutes, and I just let her get back to work because we came up together, and we all came together in drama, man. You know that we know how to fucking play off of one another, and
well, plus if you hung out in there too long and you were kind of like, then it would be kind of weird.
Yeah, just do it for a few minutes and fucking fire up the crowd and fucking say something to her and give her a chance to fucking have a witty response, and went back and forth for a little bit, and then I checked out. That's actually the professional thing to do. So everybody helps. I'll jump into the live stream on fucking other YouTubers that fucking I like and shit, and fire up the crowd and fucking make money for them. Hey, oh shit, who was that I did that for the other day? Empress fucking
Joy Jean,
yeah. Jumped in there and said she never asked for money. It says this poor girl fucking is not monetized and she never asked for money. She just does this shit basically for free. And then boom, 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 boom. She had like 2 $100 super chats and like a couple of $30 super chats right after that. And then later after the show, she says, "Thank you for doing that." That was because that's her only source of income is the occasional live stream, and she only live streams like once a month.
She's cute as shit.
She's just real humble. She's afraid to live stream and afraid to make money.
I get the afraid to live stream because I didn't really want to do it either at first. Because remember, you guys, we never live streamed. We recorded everything until our 200th episode, right?
Yeah.
I think the 200th episode, we're like, ooh, it's going to be a big deal. So we're actually going to do a live stream. And I was like, really nervous about it. But the more we do it, it's like, now, I like this actually better. It's less stressful doing a live stream than it is recording it, which is stupid because, I mean, when I'm recording something, like a book review or a movie review, if I fuck something up, obviously I can just, like, edit it out. Yeah. And I can't do that, like, on a live stream, but I don't know why. I don't know. I guess because most of the stuff that I record, when it's just me, I always kind of feel like, well, I don't have... I don't have you to talk to, or I don't have the chat to talk to, so I'm always kind of like, what if I just like sit there and go duh, or I sound really dumb or something like that. So I don't know. I just have like a lot of issues like that. Still, even after all this time.
Joy Jean lives in Nigeria. She's got an office job. That's and she has what would be considered to be a good office job in Nigeria. Which is, I think she told me it was like less than $300 a month. That's what she makes, and she could fucking pull down. She could pull down $400 or $500 a month, or $400 or $500 a week, just in super chatting. That's what I told her. Just in live streaming, and that actually scared her, because that was just that whole dynamic. You know what I mean? She just wasn't ready for this. She says, "Oh no," because the idea of making money on the internet more than what you'd make from hard work kind of scared her in a way.
Well, I don't even know if it's that. I kind of think if she has like the same kind of mindset that I have, it's almost kind of like, who the fuck would pay to listen to my stupid ass babble?
Every time she goes on there, she makes about.
That's what I mean, but it's like it's hard to get out of that mindset. Though. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
For somebody like me, and she might be the same, where it's just kind of like, what, why would anybody want to do that? It's like, but then it's like, I think about that, and I still think about that. Even when I'm, like I said, even when I'm like recording my videos, like, reviewing books and movies and stuff, and I'm always just kind of like, why the fuck would anybody care, like, what I think about this movie, or what I think about this book, or whatever, and then but then I'll watch, like, some other horror channels, and some other horror channels, it's usually dudes, and they have, like, a lot more followers, and then I'm like, well, this dude's kind of lame, though. And it's like, he's just kind of sitting there going, well, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, some of them are good. I'm not naming anybody or anything. But, some of them I'm like, well, I think mine are better than that. So I guess I can't be that bad. You know what I'm saying? So it's I don't know. It's just hard. That's all. Yeah. Lee Warner says, what do you think about Robert Eggers remaking Nosferatu? You know what? I hadn't heard about that, crazily. But that sounds really intriguing,
I don't know who that
actually.
is.
Robert Eggers made The Lighthouse, and he
Okay.
also made The Witch, which I don't think you saw, but it's amazing.
Probably be pretty good.
So
Lighthouse is fucking good.
I'm
Weird,
down.
though.
And it's like, and I kind of feel like Robert Eggers, he's the kind of motherfucker, because if you didn't see The Witch, that came out in 2016, and it was set in, I can't remember what year it was set in, but it was set like back in old like witchcraft times, you know what I mean? And he like got all of the English correct, he got all of the costuming exactly right, like he got everything like hand sewn and everything like that. So he's like a real stickler for everything being period appropriate.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like he'd be the kind of motherfucker that if he's making Nosferatu, he would kind of make it like a silent movie, and I am so down. I mean, that sounds really cool.
If it's a silent movie, it'll bomb.
I mean, not necessarily like a silent movie, but make it like
Yeah.
look like a silent movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's like, you know, I like it.
It sounds like I'm thinking that it has to be in black and white.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
His
the
last movie was.
Yeah. I mean, the last
Yeah,
time
but-
somebody, because somebody brought up, I think on the last live stream that we did, somebody brought up the movie Begotten, which was from the 90s, and that was a silent movie. It was made in the 90s, like I said, but he tried to make it look like, it was the same guy that did Shadow of the Vampire, which was about the making of Nosferatu, so ooh. But he tried to make it look like an old, like, silent movie, and that shit was, like, disturbing as fuck. It was like a nightmare, you know what I mean? So you can't do it, but obviously making it a silent film, sure, that's gonna, significantly shrink your audience. But I kind of feel like Robert Eggers, he has enough, at least critical cred and horror movie geek cred to maybe kind of do what he wants. But I don't know, we'll see. I mean, it doesn't have to be, well, because, you know, they made the one with Klaus Kinski.
He made that?
In the No.
Okay.
I'm just saying they did a Nosferatu in the 70s with Klaus Kinski in it.
It was good.
And that was, that wasn't silent.
Yeah, it was okay. That one right there.
Yeah, the one with the that is my favorite, absolute favorite poster, like movie poster of all time. I love that poster so much. Somebody messaged me the other day and said, I've meant to tell you this for a long time, but that Nosferatu poster back there like kicks ass.
Yeah.
I was like, doesn't it though? I think I got that in the UK actually. But that's like my favorite poster.
That was a good
ever.
portrayal of Nosferatu.
And we were talking about Klaus Kinski. We talked about him on the when we were talking about on the Flesh for Frankenstein review, which I posted earlier today. And Klaus Kinski, he just always struck me as like really, really creepy. Really creepy.
He's a pervert.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if he actually was like in real life, but he just seems
like a pervert to me.
I mean, I still have yet to see. Everybody keeps telling me you have to see the documentary "My Best Fiend," which was Werner Herzog. Because he had a long working relationship / friendship / frenemy type of thing going with Klaus Kinski for like many years, and he made a documentary about Klaus Kinski called "My Best Fiend." And I told you too when I was talking about Crawl Space, which I reviewed, the behind the scenes shit on that, they made a documentary, but it's not long. I think it's only like 10 minutes. But the director of that made a documentary called Please Kill Mr. Kinski because everybody on the set hated him so much because he was so fucking difficult. And people were like pretty much outright right in front of his face, like calling for his death, like on the set of that movie, because it was just they couldn't take it anymore. And it's pretty entertaining actually. The movie's pretty entertaining too, but I just think that's so funny that people were just like right in front of his face, were like, please kill him, you know what I mean? It's like, that's very, very funny. David June says, what's up, freaks? Hey. Camp Guy says that vampire movie with Martin Landau and Johnny Depp was good.
Yes, we're talking about, there was no vampire movie.
Are you talking about Ed Wood?
That's the one thing you could be talking about. Ed Wood played fucking.
Yeah, that was in a vampire movie. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, technically that wasn't a vampire movie. That was like, I mean, Martin Landau. That was one of only 2 movies that I can think of that had an actor playing like a real person.
Yeah.
That I forgot that wasn't the real person. Martin Landau playing Bela Lugosi in that. I totally forgot that Bela Lugosi was.
Was not that.
Was not with us anymore.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Bela Lugosi's dead, but then everybody's gonna make like the Bauhaus reference, and then I just did it anyway. But so I totally forgot. The only other one that I can think of like that was Charlize Theron in Monster, where she played Aileen Wuornos. I went and saw that in the theater, and while I was watching it, I totally forgot that Aileen Wuornos was dead and that wasn't her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looked just like her.
I mean, she fucking embodied that role.
She can act.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
she's amazing. Yeah. I mean, she's good in pretty much everything I've seen her in. But, you know, it's fucking crazy. It's just fucking crazy how good she was in that. I need to see that again, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it. Gramthars Hammer said the mermaid in the lighthouse was totally hot until she started screeching.
I don't remember that. I just remember the carved figure of one.
That he jerked off to.
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember. There was a mermaid in that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think so. Although I think it was just like in his imagination, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Camp Guy said, maybe I mixed up Ed Wood and Shadow the Vampire. Yeah, Shadow the Vampire had Willem Dafoe and playing Max Schreck and, what's his name? John Malkovich playing F.W. Murnau. I just rewatched that again the other day, and that still holds up. That's kind of like, that's about the making of Nosferatu, like back from the 20s. I think Eddie Izzard is in that too, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, it's kind of like a dark comedy, but sort of. And the whole premise of it is that Max Schreck, the guy that played Nosferatu in the original movie, was actually a vampire, and that F.W. Murnau was like so into like making this the most realistic movie ever that he actually like scoured the earth and found an actual vampire to put in the movie. But yeah, it's awesome. Sylvester Stallone wrote a script for Edgar Allan Poe. I always want to see Sly make this as well as play him. It would be a shame if he never made it. So wants to play Edgar Allan Poe? I mean, I think he's too old for that now, obviously, because Edgar Allan Poe died when he was pretty young. But, I don't know. I don't know if that would have worked. Even when he was younger.
I wouldn't mind seeing Jeffrey Combs' Edgar Allan Poe stuff that he does live on stage.
Yeah, because he had like kind of a long running. Well, it might be on YouTube or something somewhere. Yeah, because he kind of had a long running like stage show.
Yeah,
where he played Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, and he'd read his poems, and
I've seen bits of it.
Yeah, I think there's a whole like monologues that go along with it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he reads some of the stories, and because Edgar Allan Poe didn't just write horror, you know, right? He wrote like comedy, he wrote literary criticism, he wrote all kind of stuff.
Yeah, but Combs is doing the horror.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's kind of what everybody's into.
Right.
I mean, you know, let's be fair. And somebody mentioned Being John Malkovich. Yeah, that's a great fucking movie. I haven't seen that in a long time either. Murder Hornet says Aileen Wuornos was hot as fuck.
Yeah.
I saw a real interview with Aileen Wuornos. In the interview, she came across as really, really touched in the head. Yeah, lots of psychotic ideations. Yeah, I got that impression as well. Thank you, Zach. It's also weird how there are singers who can't act and vice versa. Same with models who try acting and can't, even though they're all professions that use similar skills. Yes, but similar doesn't mean exactly the same, you know? Because I've known some people that were in bands.
They didn't always get their jobs the same way either.
And I don't think that they would be good. Because I could see myself being like in a band, but I don't think I would be a very good actor.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not good at like faking being somebody else.
Just because a model was a good model doesn't mean they can act. I mean, let's be honest. Most models were hookers. That's what they are. If a rich guy wants to fucking get laid, he's a celebrity, he doesn't go to the brothel. He goes down to the modeling agency. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Sorry to break your fucking heart. But and then they
I'm sure no one's heart is broken.
Yeah. So and then they try to put those in the damn movies, and you just put But the thing is a lot of actresses, you know, same kind of deal. The ones that end up in the movies are the ones that got casted properly on the damn couch. And that's how they got that movie. And then they got to sleep with other dudes, fucking producers and shit to get certain movies made. That old tale that, you know, back to even all the way back to the Hollywood silver screen that, actresses are prostitutes. Yeah, they are. They are. Most of them. And that goes back to the damn fucking 1800s brothels, a thing that was called a star. You had hookers in those brothels, but they didn't want to be known for that. So they would get up there and sing and dance, and they would get famous in front of the clients, and they would put their face inside a star, and they called them stars. And then their rates could go up too because they were talented. It was a hooker that had talent, and Hollywood adopted that model. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. That's what they are. And I believe that most of the guys are too. And come on. I mean, you know, fucking Corey Feldman tried to warn everybody. He's fucking, it's right. That's true. That's how it is. A lot of those guys that came up fucking young, fucking in the 80s, you know shit went down. That's how they getting in those movies. That booty's worth money. They want $1 million job, they're going to have to earn it. Because acting, anybody can act. That's the way they look at it. And a lot of fucking whistleblowers have come out of that scene and go, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It was the same thing with a lot of them. There were some of those damn fucking kind of like instant pop star chicks. They'd get high up in the damn... We're talking about mostly in the 90s. This is when some of this shit was coming out. Sony Music could run them. They'd make millions of dollars, but rarely on the side they had to fucking do things to make money. So that whole fucking business is bad, man. The whole business, it's fucking prostitution.
Well, like you said, I think that it comes from, they have so many people that want to do it, that want to be famous, that they're just kind of like, well, if you don't want to do it, then we can find like 100 other people that will. So.
Right, so the people that are in charge of these people that gain power in Hollywood are these Weinstein-type dudes. They're like, well, yeah, if you want this role and make $5 million, $10 million, you're going to have to blow me. Or blow my friend, because he just paid me $2 million. It's fucking corrupt as shit.
Captain Blairdo says, if Brooke Shields ever became a methed out zombie, people would call her the creature from the Blue Lagoon.
Yeah.
Then Camp Guy says, Eric Bogosian is a great monologue guy. Yeah, he is. He had a show kind of like Sterling Gray. I remember seeing the Sterling Gray one like on cable back in the 80s. And Eric Bogosian, I remember he was in that movie Talk Radio, which was it was like based on a true story, like about that radio DJ who was kind of like a shock jock type thing, and he got like essentially like assassinated, like somebody, like he had a stalker and killed him. I need to see that again. Actually, I haven't said. I saw that in cable back in the old days.
Sparks saying Corey's right, and then they're talking about Corey Haim too. Yeah.
Now Corey Haim was the one that died, right? Because I know one of the Coreys died. Yeah. Corey Haim died. Corey Feldman's still alive.
It was. Did I get him? Corey Feldman was also warning people though, wasn't he? Did I get him mixed up?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. I thought.
I think they both were.
Yeah.
It goes back to fucking old Michael Jackson and the damn fucking house with the damn fucking amusement park out in front of it. Okay. Old school celebrity had unwarranted power. There was only 13 channels on the television. You had fucking a couple of movie studios, and you had cable TV. There was no internet. People would become enamored with what they saw on the screen, and those guys would abuse their fucking power. And if you wanted to become one of those celebrities, it was not on the back of talent. Talent was very, very common. You had to go above and beyond to fucking join. You had to be marketable. You had to have marketable skills. They're talking about his booty. Okay. You were going to become a fucking expensive piece of booty. And from that booty, you could generate enough money to finance the production of movies too. So kind of like a high class hooker, male and female. Now, not all, but I think most. Not all of them though. Which brings me back to fucking Tom. I do not believe Tom Cruise was gay. But Tom came from nothing. Most of those people came from nothing. It would not surprise me if they abused Tom. All right? Which, that's what left him vulnerable for fucking Scientology to fucking take advantage of him. There's some overcompensation in in Tom Cruise. And he always saying that Scientology helped him. What did they help him with? Maybe it was to overcome abuse. Maybe.
Although that seems like trading one form of abuse for another. Yeah. Although I guess the Scientologists treated him better than they treated most of their other people, but still.
Would not surprise me if Tom was abused.
Jason says Judy Garland was worked to death at a young age. Yeah, I kind of feel like even when she was a teenager, her big thing was her weight. So they put her on all these drugs like to keep her from getting fat.
Yeah.
And she got addicted to them.
Yeah.
In the end. So they're all kind of like terrible stories from back in the day.
Hollywood of the silver screen, when it first started to, when the Hollywood that you know started to be born, back a long time ago out in California, it was real closely associated with like the carnival. It was like Cardi's. It's like that. It's all an illusion.
Well, I mean...
the glamour was not really what you think.
Well, it was all a veneer. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on, and I wrote about some of the cases in my book where they talked about, like, you know, shit that happened in the 20s and 30s. You had people that were big stars, like, in the silent era and a little bit later, who got fucking murdered and shit like that, and, like, the studios were so powerful that they would, like, cover that shit up.
Yeah, the studios controlled the police.
Yeah, they're, well, you know, or at least they'd be kind of like, let's kind of clean up the crime scene, like, before the cops get here, and, like,
yeah, and the cops knew, and
right, so they did a lot of kind of
It's
shit
real
like
easy to pay off a fucking chief of police if you send him a little starlet every now and then. You can get whatever you want. The motherfuckers are crooked. Especially back in those days. And even today, I don't think it's changed. I think it's the same. It's just that, luckily, if you ask me, the power of the studio system is waning.
Well, like I said, that's why
the only game in town.
That's why I don't really complain about it, because it was just as bad back then, or worse.
And it was worse.
It was worse because nobody knew about it really, because they were really good at like keeping shit clamped down. And now it'll come out eventually.
Yeah, and California was a fucking bad scene back in the era of the silver screen, the 20s and the 30s. You'd have fucking extreme wealth right along extreme poverty, and those starlets came from extreme poverty. They just were good looking, and you weren't going to get that job unless you were willing to play ball. They had a lot of power over them. Sad. I mean, even fucking, what is his name, Errol Flynn and shit. What didn't he buy a 13-year-old girl and keep her as a sex slave?
Yeah, I think he did, actually. Yeah. I mean, you know, if I might be remembering that wrong, but yeah, that sounds like something that I read.
He had a room made for her that had a two-way mirror above there, and his buddies would go up in the attic, and they'd all watch each other fuck her. Weird shit. And then he'd snort a bunch of cocaine and go out on a boat with these underage girls and shit, snorting coke. Go to the restaurant.
Yeah, so like I said, it's not nothing new. People were doing all kind of horrible shit back then. They just didn't find out about it until like a lot later. Yeah, Gramthars Hammer said, when I lived in Oregon, we used to go to Winnemucca? Okay, Nevada, to drink and gamble. The brothels were always full of truck drivers using I-80. Poor girls, there's nothing nastier than a long-haul trucker, right? It's, I can't imagine. It's, you know what I mean? I can't imagine, like, that being your only fucking career option, you know what I mean? And I know it does happen. And I know sometimes, you know, poverty, drug addiction, whatever, but it's just kind of like, holy crap, man. It's fucking horrifying. In a way, like I said, I kind of wish that they would legalize it and regulate it in the same way that, you know, parts of Nevada do, because I do kind of feel like at least then you'd get people that actually like went there, like went to the brothel to get a job and kind of knew what they were in for, rather than just taking, you know, just doing it out of desperation, which like seems really, really sad. Because I know there are some people that would do that, like, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's how you want to make money. That's some shit, man. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that it's like it would be nice if that was just like another option that you had, that you didn't like have to fall into that because that's all you had left. Yeah, cocaine's a hell of a drug. Yeah, somebody's talking about Roman Polanski. Yeah, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like, I don't know. I kind of feel like everybody kind of sucks. Maybe it's just kind of like Hollywood. You hear about that because everybody's famous and stuff, but regular people are shitty too. Regular people do shitty stuff like that all the time. Maybe you just don't hear about it as much because they're not famous. Jason says Robert Stack did some interviews on YouTube about Lana Turner and Judy Garland. He said they wanted to keep Judy young while Lana was more desirable. Yeah, I mean, the shit they did to Judy Garland was just, like, terrible. If you guys have ever read, what was that famous book that came back in the old days? Hollywood Babylon? I think they did a couple, like, a sequel for that or something like that. I remember reading those a while back. Now, some of the stuff in there is bullshit and exaggerated, and it just kind of goes on gossips, and they don't really have any proof for it and stuff, but there's enough stuff in there that's been backed up by evidence that's you know, horrifying enough. I was saying, too, that, you know, people, just regular-ass people, do shitty stuff, too. It's just that you don't hear about it as much because they're not famous. So it might be kind of a little bit of that going on, too. You know what I'm saying?
We're drinking Smirnoff citrus vodka, which is lemon flavor, in iced tea that I made. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we just had the idea today. We had to go down to the liquor store and the Publix, and he's walking to the liquor store. I went in the Publix because I had to get cat treats, and because Pookie was like freaking out. There's only one box left. This is bullshit. So we had to go get some more. And so he's going in there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get some citrus vodka, like some lemon or something."
Yeah.
And apparently he asked the guy that works in the liquor store, you know, is this good with iced tea? And indeed it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's citrus, but is it just lemon or does it have like grapefruit or some other shit?
Just lemon. Pictures of lemon on the bottle.
Okay.
Smirnoff.
Because it doesn't really taste all that. I know they have like grapefruit vodka, which actually I like grapefruit vodka. But it's one of those ones, I like lemon vodka too, but I can't drink too much of it because it's really like acidic, and after a while it'll start making me like go, ugh, you know what I mean? Like I'll kind of feel nauseated because it's just so acid.
I wonder if Tila's going to show up tonight.
I don't know. I haven't got a message today.
She usually shows up when she gets home from work, and she's been coming home. I think fucking probably around 7 o'clock our time. Last time she came.
Yeah, because that's
About
right.
6.
She's in a different.
Yeah,
what
she's in
time zone is she in?
California.
Oh,
She's in
okay.
San
So
Francisco.
she's like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Tammy says Shirley Temple has said Ben would come on to her when she was little. That does not surprise me.
Yeah, Shirley Temple.
Honestly, you know what? And I kind of feel like most women, when they were younger girls, have stories like that, where they have like some creepy like 45-year-old dude like hitting on you when you're like fucking 10. Most girls I know have a story like that.
Yeah.
Because some of those dudes are fucking gross, and they will totally hit on like a child. You know,
Well,
there's more of them than you think there are.
I've read commentary on Shirley Temple, though. They say that Shirley Temple, the way she was filmed and the effects that they did and the acts that they had her in, is that she's being portrayed as an adult sex symbol.
And if you watch some of that stuff, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. And that evidently there were a lot of guys of that generation that were kind of like had a huge crush on this 7-year-old girl.
Yeah, which...
And they kind of, if you go back and you look at 30s entertainment like, you know, Our Gang or Little Rascals, they had a lot of fucking stuff between generations that would be real inappropriate. Like, you know, Spanky and Alfalfa competing for the love of fucking Miss Crabtree, the teacher.
Yeah.
She's probably about 20. And they're coming on to her, and she's like, "Oh, really?" And she's kind of like, she's hamming it up.
Right.
But evidently that was just part of the culture. They didn't
So
have
innocent.
childhood, per se, in the 30s. They didn't have teenagers in the 30s.
I kind of feel like that was
no
more like a
teenage culture.
post-war, like a post-World War II invention.
50s.
Like a separate period between childhood and adulthood.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. If you could walk and talk, then you were old enough to drink and smoke cigarettes. They were like that. They were working.
Well, not if they were like 5, but you know what I mean.
Well, no, some.
Well, no, because some kids were working in coal mines.
They were working
and
in
shit.
coal mines.
Yeah,
they were
that's
working
true.
in factories and stuff in England.
That's true.
If you could walk and talk and do a job, then a lot of them were working. What you were seeing in Our Gang was like the very which was California at that 30s. That was the very beginnings of kind of like modern America, where there was childhood. Back in Europe, those bitches were fucking working in a coal mine.
Yeah, they're like, hey, they're
So they had
fucking
a
small.
childhood.
They can fit down there.
Right. But there's a lot of a lot of arguments against the way we do it now. You know, we're having like extended childhoods way into their 30s and stuff. And then when you analyze what they teach in school and even what they taught our generation in school, a lot of it was bullshit. And then when you look at the way the laws are set up, a lot of it had to do with was protecting adult jobs from children or younger people. What I'm talking about is this. If you actually looked at your average education, public education in the United States, by the time you got to like your sophomore year, the average person really didn't learn much more than that. Okay, you really could cut them loose in the 10th grade. They could probably handle your average entry-level job by the time the 10th grade came out.
Well, because a lot of kids I went to high school with had jobs.
They already had jobs, right?
You know,
but the laws were set up. Labor laws were mostly set up because adults did not want to compete against a younger person entering in the job market that would work for less, because it was depressing the wages for labor. And then they started to change the education system to make all high school education oriented towards sending a kid to college. But that was done in a time when the United States was hurting for college-level people. It was probably a bad idea. What they should have done is you should have been graduating from high school by around 10th grade. If you were gifted intellectually, you should have been groomed to go to college.
That's kind of how they do it in the UK. Still,
right. That's the way it should. If you're not scholastically gifted, you should be sent to trade schools.
Yeah, that's what they do in the UK.
Fix things, how to build things.
You go. I mean, as far as I am aware that they still do it like this, you go to school until you're 16, and then they have you on different tracks. Right. So it's like if you aren't really like into college or you don't want to do that, then you go to like a year or 2 year trade school, and they teach you whatever, like, you know, building or whatever the hell. But if you want to go on to college, then you do another 2 years of high school and then go to university.
What happened here,
something like that,
because they had the laws set up that way, banks and universities saw a big opportunity to make a bunch of money, to sell everybody some kind of fucking degree. Well, if you have to sell everybody a degree, you have to water it down because most people aren't going to be needed. You don't need degrees to run a society. You need workers. You need a lot more Indians than you need chiefs. So most of the stuff that they are teaching people in these universities is something along the lines, something that's not useful. You know, underwater basket weaving, women's studies, social studies bullshit. It doesn't really do anything. Not for the person that's learning it, and not really much for. It's not really even doing anything for society. What it's doing is it's fucking giving a bank an opportunity to make a loan, and it's giving a university the opportunity to make some money. So it's a scam. All right.
But I mean, the thing about it though is that there's tons of community colleges that do year or 2 year just like certificate programs. You know, where you can
they're
learn
not utilized.
I mean, there were tons of people at the one I went to. Where they teach you more like technical type things. They teach you like how to do like air conditioning repair or mechanics or something like that.
Call that a trade school in Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. It's a community college.
And really, had they gone to trade schooling, you would have had a lot more, say, human satisfaction, because there's far more demand for it. You can make a lot more money. It doesn't take as long to get trained in that. And you'll be active, and you can go back and retrain for other things as the market changes. It's a lot more flexible.
Well, I mean,
that's the way to go.
What they had with the school that I went to, which actually is not a community college anymore because they upped their thing, and now it's like a state college. But what they would do is they would have 1 year or 2 year. They had like a 1 year certificate program for various, kind of like technical type things like, air conditioning repair or mechanics or something like that.
Plumbing.
Yeah, plumbing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You could get a 1 year certificate and actually it was only like 9 months or whatever, and it was like really cheap. They also had 2 year associate's degrees in, kind of like, business admin, graphic design, stuff like that. And then what they would do is there was a university, part of which was on the same campus.
Yeah.
So you could do 2 years of, for example, graphic design. If you wanted to finish up your bachelor's degree, then you could transfer all of those credits, and then you could just go, for a shorter time, and you would get a bachelor's degree in the same kind of thing. But most of the people that went were doing kind of just more trade school type things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They should have done that. But you know what I mean? You had bad leadership and lots of corruption in the United States, and they just wanted to push it in a way they could make the most money. And the easiest way to make money is to exploit human weakness. And one of the human weaknesses is the quest for status. So you tell people that if you go to these universities and learn this kind of bullshit thing, you'll have all this status, you'll end up in the ruling class. But that's not what happened. What happened is it just kind of diluted the value of a fucking college degree, because everybody has them, and half of them are damn full of shit, worthless. What you really want is workers, people that skilled labor, that can create and make things. People are happier doing that, and they make more money doing that. Like the example, nobody wants to fucking live in a house that's filled with shit coming out of the damn pipes. People will pay anything to have somebody come and fucking fix damn pipes and keep the shit from flowing into the damn house. Me and Jenny fought that one time, the fucking stuff coming up out of the damn toilet. Remember how desperate it is? You're like, damn, the toilet water coming up. Plumbing is fucking very important. All right. Now people will look down their nose at a damn plumber, but if you look at the bottom line and you look at the cost versus reward involved between a doctor and a plumber, that plumber is actually doing better than your average doctor.
Well, I mean, everybody
Money-wise.
gangsta until shit coming out of your toilet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So.
A plumber
Or your AC breaks
right.
in Florida in August.
A plumber does not have the debt that a doctor has, and does not have the overheads. They don't work the hours that a fucking doctor has. But his profits are fucking greater than a doctor. He doesn't have the status for some strange reason, but that's society's
Well, they
problem.
also don't have as much debt as doctors
That's
have,
right.
because they
I already
pay.
said that,
Yeah,
right?
they already have a lot of debt. from
When you
going to medical
looked at
school.
the actual profit margin, all right, especially
Doctors do make a lot of money.
then the plumber is actually winning, but for some reason he does not have the social fucking status, which is some stupid shit.
Doctors do make a lot of money, though.
They make a lot of money, but they spend a lot of money,
especially if they're specialists.
and then they're not around. Yeah, that is true. But I said the average, though.
Yeah.
Average. The ones that are really making big money evidently are surgeons, or people like my friend Dr. Matt. He owns the fucking Orlando Hospital. His mom built that, Orlando General. And really, what he has is he hires doctors to damn work in the hospital. And that's the way that's where you're hiring factories and whole armies of doctors. That's really where the money is.
Well, I mean,
it's not being a practitioner. It's somebody inside.
Well, that's kind of
architecture
that's
of the
true.
fucking
That's
medical
true
system.
of any
Right.
trade or any
Right.
job.
Right.
You want to be the person bossing all the other
All the other
motherfuckers
motherfuckers
around.
right.
You make a lot more money than you do
Yeah.
actually
Right.
doing the actual work. I
Right.
mean, that's
He's
kind
a
of true
doctor,
of any
but he
trade.
doesn't have to practice.
I
He's
mean,
got an army of
a
doctors.
graphic designer makes less than an art director,
Right.
even though essentially the art director just comes up with the idea and is like, now you guys do it.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll make like twice as much as you.
Right.
Bitter? Oh, a tad.
Right.
Just
and,
saying.
and then another thing, the way they got it set up, because of just basically human frailties and corruption, you would think the smartest motherfuckers in the world would. And I lived outside Boston, Somerville for a while. Fucking knew MIT students and Harvard students. The smartest motherfuckers were there were the MIT students, and it was just pure science. God, they were annoying. You just couldn't be around them. They were so fucking nerdy and geeky. Those dudes wouldn't hardly make any money. They wouldn't make any money. The best minds that entered into the system weren't going into science because of the money. They were smart enough to go chase the money. Guess where they were going? Finance. The smartest motherfuckers were not going into science, they were going into finance. Because then they could work in the banking system. And they just printed money. They printed money for them. They worked for the companies that printed money. They're working at the Federal Reserve Bank. Money printing motherfuckers. That's where they're. Because why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't
Maybe you don't
choose
wanna
your
do
own
that.
success? Not them. Go try to reason with them.
No, I'm just saying that
these guys are going. No, I'm gonna fucking go where the money is.
Probably the people that went to MIT, they were like super into science, and they just wanted to do something like that. So it's a trade-off. You don't want to spend your whole life in a career that you're going to spend 30, 40, 50 years of your life doing, and it makes you miserable. Even if you make a lot of money at it, sometimes for some people it's not worth it.
A lot of those guys, though, they end up in the financial fucking industries. They don't really do the work, per se. It's more like joining a cult. You know, they get positions and they all know each other and fucking, they know how to invent financial mechanisms on paper to get certain things done, but then they spend the rest of the time down on yachts and private islands, you know, which that's probably the smarter way to go. Although some dudes, like the MIT dudes that I run into, as annoying and fucking crazy as they were, they're kind of like dudes that are fucking would geek out over comic books or video games. They were totally into that shit. But really, when you analyzed what they ended up doing and what they ended up using for, they were just employees. Which, the real fucking alpha motherfucker never wants to be an employee. They want to be a potentate.
Gramthars Hammer said, do they still have charm schools for women in the South? No, although it wouldn't shock me if there was one like in some corner somewhere.
No.
I honestly, a few years back, this was probably like 5 or 10 years ago, I remember reading an article about...
They have them in the north, though. It's called Wellesley College. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Right.
I remember reading an article like 5 or 10 years ago about a cotillion in Atlanta, and it was like recent, and I was just kind of like, holy shit, are they still doing that? Are we back in like Gone with the Wind days? I thought those went out in like the fucking 1960s. I guess not. I guess they still do them somewhere. I don't know. That was like a few years back, so I don't really know.
Across the street from Wellesley College, and that's in Wellesley, Massachusetts. Hillary Clinton went there. It was an all-girls fucking school. We used to fucking call it the Dyke Dungeon. And they called it the Dyke Dungeon. Super expensive school.
Danny Rolling Ghostface says, you should totally do a show on infamous necrophiliacs, grave body robbers. We actually did do a necrophilia one like a long time ago. It was the only show, and it still makes me laugh to this day, that Tom was so disgusted that he like took off at the end of the show. Especially about funeral home female necrophiliac Karen Greenlee. Now, we didn't talk about her. We did talk about... Who the fuck did we talk about on that show? We talked about the guy that dug up his... it wasn't his girlfriend. It was
some young girl.
It was a young girl that he was like obsessed with. Yeah. And he just dug up her... He didn't kill her, but he like dug up her body and kept it. And that was super gross. And... Oh, shit. Who was that other... What was that dude's name? Carl something? I'll think of it like in 15 minutes from now, and I'll just be like, oh, I remember. But yeah, we did one a while back, but I was very amused at how disgusted Tom was, so of course I had to keep like poking it. Because I think it's gross too, but it doesn't bother me as much. I guess it really bothers me. I mean, it bothers me, but I've read so much like disgusting horror fiction and true crime and stuff that it's like nothing really phases me anymore. So I'm not bothered by it. Let's see. Mr. Roboto says there are charm schools for teenagers, Jenny. Oh, okay. Like I said, it wouldn't shock me if there were some. I kind of feel like, I don't think they call them charm schools. I think they call them finishing schools. Yeah. Where they teach you stuff like how you're supposed to walk properly and how to like dress and like manners and shit like that.
Yeah, it was home skills.
That was shit like that, yeah.
How to make dresses, how to cook.
Well, that's more home ec shit. That's more home ec shit.
They did that in the finishing schools too.
Did they? I thought that was more just kind of like a social etiquette type of
that was
thing.
Everything. How to throw parties.
Yeah, I thought it was more that kind of stuff, like party hosting and shit. Yeah. Where I kind of feel like home ec. It's funny. I was just reading an article the other day about home ec classes, and they still have them at some high schools. I think they still do home ec and shop and all that. And I took home ec and shop. Actually, I took them in junior high, not high school. But it was kind of like, it was one of those things where it was like each semester was something else. So you had like a semester of shop, a semester of home ec, a semester of like kind of graphics, like photography and, you know, like linoleum carving and shit like that. And then what was the other one? Was it health? Shit, I can't remember what the fourth one was. But the home ec class we did, because I was kind of interested to see like what other people's, like, because people from all over the US were talking about what their home ec classes, like what they had taught in them. And some people had like a whole year of home ec, and they're like, yeah, we did like one semester sewing and one semester cooking and one with like some other shit or whatever. I kind of feel like ours was only one semester, which was 9 weeks. And we did, it was mostly cooking and sewing. I mostly remember the cooking. We did make a lot of shit. Like we made grape jelly. We made crepe Suzette, of all things. Yeah, we had the crepe maker and everything. We made like a lot of baked stuff. Lasagna. Did we make lasagna? So we did make a bunch of shit. And then we had sewing, and I was fucking hopeless at that. We had to make a pair of shorts, and mine just came out. I think I had to throw them away. I just couldn't get the hang of it. I can sew by hand if I have to. Like, I can sew on a button and shit like that, but making like an article of, I probably could if I applied myself to it, but I mean, nowadays my vision's kind of bad and it's just like too fiddly, so I'd probably be like, I wouldn't have the patience. But even back then I didn't really have the patience for it. I was okay at the cooking and all that stuff, but the sewing, I was just kind of like, fuck this, man, I don't want to fucking do this. But so I actually really, because my mom could sew anything. She made clothes for me, she made Halloween costumes, she made clothes for other people, and she really liked it. Like, she really enjoyed it, and I kind of wanted a little bit of that. Like, I could do, you know, kind of bullshit stuff like macrame and latch hook and that kind of stuff, you know, cross stitch, but making an entire pair of shorts, that kind of defeated me. They came out okay, but they were sort of lopsided, and I had trouble with like the waistband. So I just had to throw them out at the end. I think I got maybe like a C on them or something.
Graham's asking me that if we had trade school back in our days, what trade would we have ended up taking? I probably still would have taken culinary. I probably still would have done that, or machinist. I really would have liked that. I actually did some of that for up in Michigan at Broadhead Armory. It was a machine gun shop. Did that for a while before I joined the Army. Being a machinist, it's a possibility, or being a auto mechanic. I like that also, which I do that too. I can rebuild engines and shit. Know all about internal combustion. So it would have been a mixture of those three, which that's kind of part of the mainstay of shit. And another thing that maybe I would have been into is something involved with construction. You know, that'd have been interesting also.
I wouldn't mind doing something like that, actually.
Construction, right?
I mean, if I would go into trade school and they gave me like all the, I would like to you learn how to build like a house. Mm-hmm. I think that would be really useful.
I was thinking more like skyscrapers.
Well, I mean that
buildings,
too.
If I could pour in concrete.
Yeah, that seems like it. That seems like it'd be a really useful skill.
Or building ships, something like that. I probably would have enjoyed that. But military really was the primary thing. You know, coming up out of a military academy, I was always military oriented. I was ready for that. So when the wars started, I just fucking went right to where my heart was. Military schools and building models and tanks, but I went straight infantry, airborne infantry. And if I couldn't get that, probably would have fucking wanted to go into an armor unit. But some of my friends, or one friend of mine, Trapansky, he went green to gold and became an officer and ended up being an armored commander and vanished into the fucking officer world. And I linked back up with him on Facebook years later, and he told me it was a good thing that I didn't go armory. He said he hated it. It was mostly just fucking maintaining and washing those damn fucking M1 Abrams tanks. And it was more maintenance than doing anything. They rarely ever got to do anything with them. So maybe it was a good thing.
See, that's why I was never real interested in, because I like doing, you know, I complain about like I was saying earlier about like an art director making a lot more money than a graphic designer, even though the art director is just kind of like the manager of it and is not actually doing the stuff. But to be honest, I don't think that I would want to be the person that's just like managing people and telling other people what to do. I'd rather just do it myself.
Yeah.
Because actually I enjoy the creative process, and I do not think I would enjoy just being in an office telling other people to do this creative thing, even if I was making 2 times the money, which is probably why I never really pursued, even though I have enough experience, I never really pursued like a managerial thing, because that seems like it would be really boring. So I just really never wanted to do that. Smoochie says, did you use your Easy Bake Oven? I did. I loved that shit. And I actually had, because I know they had one, this was in the early 80s, I think, or late 70s or early 80s when I had one. I know they had one that looked kind of like more like a quote-unquote modern kitchen or a contemporary one. Mine was like an old school, it was a Holly Hobby branded Easy Bake Oven, so it looked like an old like Little House on the Prairie shit.
Like a cast iron oven?
Yeah, it looked like an old, like one of those really, it was dark blue, I think, and it had kind of like, and it was all like ornate. I loved that fucking thing. And you just like cooked stuff with a light bulb. So they'd give you like little packets of stuff, and some of the shit in there was like not bad. Like especially the apple pie was actually pretty decent. It was just like this big, but it was good like a tart.
When I was a little kid, girls had it.
Yeah, I had one.
Yeah, and they liked it. They said it worked.
It did.
Yeah.
I made apple pies in it all the time. I made like little chocolate cakes.
Did you have to buy their little packets, or did they give you recipes on how to make it?
You could do either. I usually got the packets. It came with, I can't remember how many packets it came with, but it came with a packet, and then you could like buy, extra packet sets.
Okay.
Or they had like little recipes too, so they were like mixed together X, Y, Z, and then then put it in there. So you could do it either way. You could use your own ingredients or theirs. But I remember some of the stuff being like pretty decent. I mean, I was a little kid, so I'm sure I wasn't like.
Probably came out like the little fucking pies that came out of the damn TV dinner. It's probably like that.
You know what? I actually think it was better than that because I remember eating TV dinners, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I ate TV dinners a lot.
Thing, yeah.
They were better than that.
Okay.
So I will say that.
All right. Those are pretty good though, out of a TV dinner.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it
Not
says
bad.
something that the ones from the Easy Bake Oven, at least the Easy Bake Oven I had like back in like the late 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
Were actually pretty good. I think there were other ones too, but the ones the best ones I remember, the apple pie was the best one, and then like the chocolate cake was pretty good too. And it came with like the little frosting, so you could put frosting on it. And I was gonna say too that when I was talking about home ec and shop and all that other kind of stuff, shop was kind of fun. Like we did a lot of woodworking, and I made like I made like a bunch of little planners and pencil holders and shit like that. Yeah. And but I think my favorite of all those, I think, was the graphics class that we had, because we did photography. We built a pinhole camera, and then they taught us all of how to develop a photograph like from scratch. Well, you even had to like take the film out of the pinhole camera, like in one of those little, I don't even know if they have these anymore, but one of those little bags that you put your hands in. It's black, so you don't expose the film to light, right? So you stick your hands in there and you take it out of the camera, and then you have to wind it around this thing and put it in this little cup, and then you have to take it and you expose it, and then like all the chemicals and stuff. So we did that. We did drafting. You had to do like I learned how to do blueprints, all that kind of shit. So it was like, pretty useful. I don't use it in my job or anything, but
they're asking. Gary asked if we've seen the new BTK documentary.
Ooh, I have not. Wait, how new are we talking about?
Yeah, where is it? How new and where is it? What are you talking about?
Because I see like a lot. Mr. Robota says, "Do you and Jenny have an ice cream maker?" No, we don't. No, we don't.
I had ice cream without one.
Yeah, you don't need one actually. No. I had one when I was a kid. My dad had one. So my dad and my grandma always, they always made peach ice cream with it, because you couldn't get peach ice cream all year round, at least back then. And that was their favorite.
If you have an immersion blender, it's on a wand in the end, like a Cuisinart type, and then you have something like the damn, what do you call it? Protein powder, flavored protein powder, like for like Muscle Milk or fucking what's the other one? Body Fortress, which is vanilla or chocolate flavored protein. They even have a banana flavored.
Wait, it's called Body Fortress?
Body Fortress. I got that one. That's a good one too.
That's hilarious.
Fucking Body Fortress is good.
What a hilarious name.
You can drop that down into a mixing cup like 3 scoops of that, and just a half full, maybe two handfuls of fucking ice out of your ice maker, and then use the immersion blender and grind that shit together, and it will turn into instant fucking soft serve ice cream. But instead of it being ice cream, it'll be a whey protein based ice cream, which is all over Europe, Eastern Europe. They love ice cream that's like that, and it's like soft serve ice cream. You wouldn't know that was protein. It's a lot better for you. Fewer calories, fewer carbohydrates, same flavor, and you can flavor it with. I like the vanilla because vanilla can then be flavored with like frozen fruit mix and stuff, to give it any flavor you want. Or if you want to add a little bit of damn chocolate powder, cocoa powder or chocolate syrup, you can turn it into chocolate, So you can make. There's other ways to make ice cream. Shaking it in a bag with rock salt around it.
That's how I've done it like that before.
Yeah,
that's the easiest way to do it. Like I said, it's going to be soft serve. It's not going to be like.
But that is ice cream. There are other things that are like ice cream, taste just like that. They're even better for you. Ice cream is fucking very high in sugar.
Well, duh, everybody knows
sugar,
that.
eggs, milk, cream.
But I mean, if you're gonna do the it's a once in a while indulgence.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I kind of feel like the low sugar or the low fat stuff is like not even worth it. I feel like if you're gonna eat it, then just eat it like once a month or something like that, and just treat yourself. Don't get like the low calorie shit because it's not good. It just seems like a waste.
Every day I have at least one protein drink, and it's done with an immersion blender, ice cubes, fruit juice, and fucking vanilla protein. And you just whey protein. And using an immersion blender, and you can turn it into a shake. It's fucking beautiful. Beautiful. And you can control how thick you want it, or how icy you want it, or just by how much ice and how much protein you're going to put in it. And it's good. It's not cheap, Whey protein powder is not cheap. But 1 scoop of that whey protein powder, if you look at the protein content, it's about like a chicken breast with like 60, 70, 80 calories. That's not much calories. And it's a lot of good flavor. So, you could have a very high protein, low calorie meal or snack.
If I'm going to do that, I'd rather not have a shake. I'd rather just eat like a couple hard-boiled eggs or something.
Yeah.
Tastes a lot better.
Hard-boiled egg doesn't have that amount of protein in it.
I know, but like those protein shakes kind of gross me out.
It's in your mind.
It's not.
I can make them taste just like
where else would it be?
It's in your mind.
I think they're gross.
I can make them just like you can use instead of fruit juice, you can use cold coffee and ice and
I know.
And make a damn coffee flavored one. It's just like a smoothie.
Well, like I said, if I'm gonna have the calories, I'd rather eat like real food. I don't really want to.
No, the calories are low. You're not listening.
I know, but I'm just saying low. If I'm gonna eat 70, 80, 90 calories, I'd rather have like just a hard-boiled egg or something.
Yeah, but
this is like a shake.
This is like 4 times the amount of protein.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm talking about calories.
Calories don't matter that much in that context, because it's like a meal substitute.
Mandy says, what I was talking about earlier. Yeah, I manage 2 tattoo and piercing studios, and man, I want out of management. I just want to do my graphic design stuff as well. Yeah, see, this is why. I mean, ever since I got into graphic design, I was like, that's most of the time is fun. Not always, because sometimes you're doing like some stupid shit and like people are really picky or whatever. But I would rather just do that. I don't want to like manage people that are doing that and then not get to do it. And honestly, I heard the same thing from people that were my managers, like art directors and places that I worked. They were always kind of like, man, I wish I could go back and like do what you guys are doing instead of just like be sitting here like fucking doing
Graham
this
said
shit.
He got turned off by the BTK fucking show because he was too jazzed about it. I gotta see it then. I gotta see it. What's the name of this show? Where is it?
I don't think anybody said where it was. I mean,
yeah, I want to see where
it's been a while. BTK Confessions of a Serial Killer.
Yeah, I gotta see it. Is it on Netflix?
Well, I don't know. I guess
Netflix lost $50 billion today. 1/4 of its value. Damn.
Mary says, Baskin Robbins, they had grape ice cream and bubblegum ice cream.
Yeah, it was good. I used to eat it as a kid.
No.
Black licorice ice cream. It was fucking great from 31 flavors. And also the pumpkin fucking ice cream. I loved that also.
Okay, pumpkin ice cream. I can get behind that.
Well, they had pumpkin and black licorice, and that was for fucking Halloween. It was fucking great.
Well, see, I don't want any fucking black licorice in there. Goddamn, get that shit out of there.
Black licorice ice cream was great.
Pumpkin's good, though. No, I just don't like the same flavors as you.
Yeah, no.
I know that's
Now,
very difficult for you to get your head around.
Now Jason asked, "Do I still have what did he ask?" He says, "Do I still have fatigue and did I keep any wet?" First of all, I don't know what decade this is in. There's no such thing as fatigues during the time that I was in. We had BDU, which is battle dress uniform. There's no reason to keep any of that. You know, it was fucking 90s. It was fucking Marpat. I got all kinds of shit that's so much better than mil spec. And there's no reason to keep a weapon. You can't keep any military weapons. Things are signed in and out of arms rooms and highly controlled stuff. And I don't know what country you're living in, but here in the U.S. you can get things that are far better than military specification small arms. You know, now the military can get a hold of things like belt feds, and they can get a hold. You can get that too here in the U.S. They have it, just that it's a more lengthy licensing process. But just off-the-shelf stuff and stuff that you can build, you can meet or exceed military specifications. Which military specifications? I mean, some guys are really bent out of shape about that. But they don't understand how the trials go and politics and the kind of abuse that a military issued weapon goes through. You know, it's an institutional fucking weapon, which means it's being handed from one shitbag to another who's probably abusing it. That's not exactly the same situation as, say, like private security or special operations or civilian. It's going to be a totally different scene, you know. It doesn't have to be mil spec. You just have to understand what it is you're dealing with and what the mission is. So, no, you really don't want or need anything that the military has. Not if you're in the U.S. And this goes back to what I said before. You had dudes saying, "Oh well, you know, we have all these nuclear weapons and all these jets and all these tanks. None of those are war-winning weapons. That is totally irrelevant. Conventional weapons are used to engage a conventional army, to break down a conventional army, to get into their country and take over basically their institutions and their government, to get people to obey. And it tends to fail. Conventional warfare, going back, the last conventional war that actually worked was World War II. After that, conventional war failed. It has a fucking piss poor track record. Everything is unconventional. What's working now is shit that you would see in fucking 007. Fucking James Bond bullshit. That works. Conventional war is fucking the chumps game.
Gramthars Hammer says the bubble gum in bubblegum ice cream was like chewing on cold rocks. Amazing, I never lost a tooth.
I loved it.
Yeah,
though. I loved it.
I mean, there were different kinds because I think there were some that had like chunks of bubblegum in it, and then there were some that were just like bubblegum flavored. Both of them are bullshit. I don't like that. Well, like I said, I'm not a big fan of fruity ice creams or any of those kind of like stunt flavors. You know, I'm kind of more like a coffee nut mint type of person. So, not a big fan of that. Butter pecan is good also. Yeah. So I do kind of want to watch that BTK thing, but I know where you're coming from because I've seen some interviews with him and I read that book. The book was also called Confessions of a Serial Killer, so maybe actually the documentary is based on the book. And he really sounds like, I mean, obviously he's a serial killer, but he also just, on top of that, just sounds like a giant fucking douchebag. You know. And he definitely is getting off on recounting. He's really into, like, how famous he is, I feel like. Because he likes to recount the crimes because he gets off on it, which is fucked up. You know.
Graham's talking about everything he carried when he was a cop. Smith & Wesson 66, the 357 Magnum. Yeah, the 66 was good. I had a, the 586 and the 686, which is the stainless steel version. I had them both in 4-inch barrels and 6-inch and 357 Magnum. I used to hand load in 357. Fucking use those Hogue finger fucking grooved grips and shit for them. Adjustable sights. There was a fun revolver. Revolvers often discounted nowadays, but when you talk about fucking accuracy out of a pistol at fucking longer ranges, fucking revolver was the way to go, man. It was pretty good. Also, he said Smith & Wesson 4046. The 4046, that was a stainless steel automatic. It's a semi-automatic pistol. The 46, I believe, it was the 40 version of the fucking 9, if I remember correctly. I remember those.
Jason says, I live in England. Guess they call them different things now.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's talking about fatigues.
Yeah.
Fatigues is an old fucking term, 1950s.
And then Gary says, I'm in Ireland. And then he says, thought everyone here was American. Not everybody. There are actually
they're all over the world.
There are a lot of Brits here. We have a couple. Sandra, I don't think she's here tonight.
Central
but
and
she's,
South Americans.
She's German.
Yeah.
And we have, sometimes we have a guy from Saudi Arabia. Sometimes we have a couple
Saud's not here today.
Yeah, we have a couple of people from Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, there's like lots of different people.
And North Mexico, also known as Southern California. We have some of those. No, and then he's going. Yeah, also, man, the Sig 228, that was a fucking great pistol. Great steel frame pistol. Glock 26, I remember that one. Yeah, that was a good one, too. The 870, yeah, that was a fucking standby. Cruiser. Mini 14, I had the Mini 30, too. That was a good one, also. The M4, the SBR version. Yeah, it's a 14-inch barrel. That's good, yeah. I should bring some uppers in here, man. I can't bring an assembled weapon in here on a live stream. The AI will fucking immediately ding you. Because people have brought fucking stuff in to live streams and shot themselves alive on a live stream. So I'm real afraid to bring anything in during a live stream. Because there's AI watching. And I don't know how the AI recognizes stuff. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to bring anything in here. Because we'd probably lose the stream. It's okay if it's something recorded, but live stream, it might be a problem. But I got a fucking XM177 fucking clone. I've got fucking some Faxon barreled ultralight AR-15 uppers without fucking without forward bolt assist, no fucking not even dust cover, like an ultralight fucking builds. I got some of those. I got 16-inch fucking heavy barrel with fucking full rails that go all the way out to the end. A shit ton of different kinds of mags. A bunch of different kind of fucking buttstocks, you know, fucking mil-spec stuff. More, what's the name of that fucking company? Shit. Magpole, a lot of Magpole furniture, a lot of fucking vintage furniture. One of my uppers is a 16-inch fucking heavy barreled version of a dissipator with a A2 barrel and A1 style triangular fucking handguards. That's a pretty good one. AK builds. Fucking. I've got some Smith pistols. I've got, I'm a fucking big fan of fucking Walther stuff. I've got some fucking Walther P99s and PPQ type stuff. 9 to 40 conversions. I got stuff that's, let's say, suppressor adjacent, suppressor ready type stuff with that. I have some custom stuff working. That's all I'm going to talk about right now. That's all I'm talking about. One of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to do a custom Mac 10 type build, but something that looks kind of South African, integrally suppressed, but I have to worry about the licensing with that. How would I go through the licensing to do integrally suppressed, full body fucking Mac 10? But South Africans were working on something like that back in the 80s. Side folders. Let me go to the restroom. Hold on.
Yeah, I was just about to go, but
Yeah. Oh, when I come back, I'll take me a second.
John Gore says his AI freak out over blades is too. I don't know actually. I never really like worried that much about it, because that's not really something I would do on the show. So I don't really know. I've never, honestly, we have never run into problems. I don't think that. Literally, the only strikes I've ever gotten were like copyright strikes. You know. I think one time Tom was showing like a video of some band that he was talking about, and I got a copyright strike for that. They didn't take the video down, but they gave me a copyright strike. And I think back in the old days when I used to put kind of like snippets of songs at the end that had to do with whatever the topic was, I got a couple copyright strikes on those. But I don't think I've ever gotten like, because I know like Tom likes to be really paranoid. He's like, "Ooh, we can't talk about this, we can't talk about that." But I've literally like never gotten. Sometimes the monetization is limited, like if you talk about serial killers or like really fucked up shit like that. But it doesn't happen all that much, so I haven't really run into that many problems. You know, maybe other channels have problems, but I have not really had any. You know. As I said, they do limited ads on shit that's like gruesome, like serial killers usually. So usually if I do something about true crime, then they'll still show ads, but you know, a lot of you know, advertisers don't want to be on that. So it's like a smaller pool, but that's pretty much the only thing that I've noticed. You know. Gary says, can we take a minute to appreciate that Jen always has cool hair? Thank you. I actually, my hair, I don't know what to do with it. Well, because I had this part shaved like underneath, and I didn't actually mean to grow it back out, but I just got too lazy to shave it, and now it's like too long to shave it without it being this big fucking deal. So now I'm just kind of like, well, shit, I guess I'm growing it back out then. And so I don't really like know what to do with it in the meantime. And then sometimes when we're doing the live stream, I'm just kind of like, well, I don't really feel like wearing a wig either because it's hot. And so, you know, it's just a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I think about it a lot.
Let's see if the algorithm will pick that up.
I thought you said you weren't going to, like, do it. I
just want to see if the
Well,
algorithm...
I'm going to the bathroom.
Okay. Good. I don't think the algorithm...
I didn't even know you were there.
It's XM177 style upper. Okay. All right. Here's another one. Hollywood Dissipator. Remember that? North Hollywood style. It didn't seem to pick it up. The hell? Here it is. Okay. All right. So I seem to have gotten away with it. Okay. Tammy's asked if I can take pictures of them. I kind of tend to kind of keep that shit kind of low. But I did show you the uppers. Okay, they're asking me about Beretta. Hugo's at which Beretta are you talking about, Hugo? Beretta made a lot of stuff. You might be talking about what, a Beretta 92F probably? That's like the most famous ones, a 92F. That was like what you saw in Die Hard. Is that what you're talking about?
Gary says you should have worn the wig doing that, though.
Yeah, it'd have been really cooler, yeah. Everybody's talking about what they have and all their guns and shit.
I mean, I was saying while you were gone that, honestly, I haven't really had any problems with anything.
Yeah.
Only time I ever got strikes was for a music copyright.
Right.
Like if we played some shit from a band or something.
Well, I don't think
Or, like I said, the ads are limited if you do something, like, about, like, something graphic or gruesome, like about serial killers or something, but they don't take the ads off. There's just not as many options, that's all.
Camp Guy says, classic James Bond classic books have him using a Walther PPK. I don't know what that means size-wise, except I do know it's a semi-auto. Okay, the PPK that they were talking about in the original books It's about that big, and it was a straight blowback, semi-automatic pistol. It was dual. It was double action, single action, which means that the first pull was a long pull like a revolver that would cock the hammer and fire off the first round, and then the slide would come back and cock the hammer after every round after that. It became single action. But the original actually was 7.65 millimeter, also known as 32 ACP. That's what Bond originally carried. It was a nice little pistol in its day. It has a very heavy trigger pull by today's standards, kind of heavy, and would have been expensive. They still sell them because of Bond. Later on, they upgraded it to 380, which is kind of like a weaker version of 9 millimeter. It was a good little caliber. I've owned a lot of 380s. That's probably about the bare minimum you'd ever want to carry. But what was kind of ridiculous is in the in the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, he started off in Casino Royale with a Walther P99. I have one of those. It's a fucking beautiful service pistol. The size is perfect. It's got a really nice trigger pull. It's got a really nice trigger package in it. He starts off with that, but then by the second movie, they got him back with a PPK. Well, the PPK is very out of date by today's standards. That's an antique. So it didn't really quite make sense. And he's fighting against dudes with fucking full auto submachine guns and full-size pistols, and it's just... The PPK was a pocket pistol. You don't want that. Not today. That's something you carry around if you just don't have much clothes on, and you just put something in your pocket, you know. And they got even smaller and lighter than that today for a fraction of the cost. So the PPK thing is a James Bond thing, and it's not realistic anymore. It's out of date. They're nice though. My dad has one.
Danny Really Ghostface says, just saw the film Army of the Dead, not bad at all. Zombie flick, just saying. And then Cheryl says, didn't love that movie. Yeah, I heard very mixed reactions to it. I kind of feel like when it first came out, like a lot of people were like, oh, awesome. But then like after a while, people were like, oh, wait, not awesome. So I was actually going to watch it, and then I just never got around to it, and then I forgot about it. So there's that whole thing. I mean, eventually I'll probably get around to it, but god damn it, I got like so many fucking things I gotta watch. I did actually start, because I know a couple of you recommended Archive 81, and I did actually start watching that. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and it's like awesome so far. So yeah, I'm gonna like finish that out. I still gotta finish Midnight Mass too. God damn it. I watched like the first 3 or 4 of that, and then like I never got around to finish in the end. I just I don't know. I have ADD or something. I don't know what it is.
Cheryl says, I'm Canadian. I have no idea what Tom's talking about. Well, you have no idea about Canadian laws. Canadians have some cooler shit than we have. They just can't own pistols, and I think they have a limitation on. I think they might have a magazine limitation. But in Canada, you can have short-barreled rifles. You can have all kinds of stuff that would require a license here in the U.S. So Canada isn't as different as you think it is. The whole pistol thing, that's kind of sideways. I don't really understand that. But, okay.
John Gora says, I just saw Hereditary. That was awesome. Thank you. That's actually probably my favorite horror movie of the last 5 or 10 years. I fucking love Hereditary. I've seen it 2 times. We saw it in the theater, and then we bought it, and like I watched it again, and I still fucking love it. It's so fucking good. And honestly, the more times you watch it, the better it gets. Because you pick up so much more shit. There's all kind of shit going on in the background of that stuff, like all kind of like symbolism and all kind of like shit you didn't notice first time around, and it's just, I love that. I love when so much like detail is put into it. Oh, another movie, I did a review of this, like I recorded a review of it, but it won't be up until next week. But I don't know if some of you guys have seen it. It came out in 2018, and it's called In Fabric. It's the same guy, what the fuck's his name? Peter Strickland. Same guy that directed Barbarian Sound Studio, which was like a Giallo throwback, which I also loved, and I reviewed that as well. And I've been wanting to see In Fabric for a really long time, and I saw it the other day. It's super divisive, I get that. Like, some people are watching it being like, what the fuck did I just watch? I fucking loved it. I thought it was fucking amazing. But your mileage may vary. It's very surreal, and it's kind of a black comedy, but it's like a weird, very, very dry British humor, but I like that. And it like looks gorgeous. It looks like a Giallo movie, but it's not exactly. But I like his throwback. I like that dude's style, man. Because like I said, I really liked Barbarian Sound Studio as well. Have you seen Last Night in Soho? We did.
Great movie.
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Yeah,
it was a good movie of that year.
We saw that in the theater.
Yeah.
Like not just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever it came out. Cool 122194 says just watch Zardoz. That shit was epic.
Yes, it
Thanks
was.
for bringing it up, Tom.
Yes. Zardoz is far more epic than I remembered it. I didn't quite understand Zardoz on the first viewing. But, you know, with all the shit that's been coming up lately, you know what I mean, about fucking depopulation programs and how the rich people are trying to get rid of everybody so they can inherit the earth, and divide and conquer strategies of getting warriors to fucking enslave and murder fucking the peasants. It was fucking a great movie, man. It real good. And, yeah, I want that bitch on Blu-ray. Waiting for one of y'all to send it to me. Trying to get a free movie. But no.
You're shameless, Tom.
I know. But same director who did Excalibur. If you haven't seen Excalibur,
Yeah, John Borman.
you got to see Excalibur. One of my favorite movies. That bitch will bring fucking a lump to your throat. It'll just bring out the inner honky. The vanilla gorilla fucking rises up to his fucking Celtic / Anglo-Saxon roots when he sees fucking Arthur. And then you hear Wagner in the back. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Although
And
in
the Holy
Excalibur,
Grail.
I'm super into like Merlin in that one.
Yeah, Merlin's good in it.
I love
Everybody's
that actor.
good.
What's his name? Nickel something. Shit, I can't remember now.
Yeah. If you have a Genesis in the fucking British Islands, you know, they've done the fucking genetic tests that I've fucking heard about, you know, the averages. What you're talking about is Saxon men and Celtic women, because those were the winners of the time. Because those Saxons came in there and they fucked shit up and they got all them damn Celtic women fucking pregnant, but it's male Saxon male lines and Celtic female lines. That's what we kind of are mostly.
Gary,
And that's the world that's being shown in a certain way in that movie of Excalibur. It's kind of, and Igraine, she Igraine looked very Celtic, and everybody else kind of looked kind of Germanic. It's a good movie, great movie. And it was ancient Zardoz. Very, very similar theme.
Gary says, have you guys watched Mindhunter? Yes. And they were fucking awesome. I really do hope they do another season of that.
Yeah.
That would be rad. Yeah, Charlotte Rampling was in Zardoz. Yes, she was. And Helen Mirren was in Excalibur. Ringer. Although, you know, Charlotte Rampling is, like, fucking hot, too. Just gonna say. What was that movie she was in? Night... God damn it. Somebody will help me. Somebody will know what I'm talking about. Jason says, with COVID being a global killer these last few years, do you see many films and books written about it in the future? Already have been. Man, Chuck Tingle was right on that shit. I think he's already got some, like, COVID-era erotica up on his fucking... I mean, well, I have to look at his Wikipedia page. I do check it every now and then because his titles... The titles of his books just make my fucking day. Just, like, reading through the list, I'm just kind of like, okay, all's right with the world now. Chuck Tingle is still out there, writing his weird-ass erotica, coming up with these fucking crazy... And he's very, very topical. I love it. I love it.
People asking questions about revolvers. I'm getting kind of confused about the Charter Arms 38. Who was it that used that? That was the dude that killed John Lennon. The Charter Arms was a fucking real cheap revolver. An American-made
Nate
revolver.
Porter, thank you.
Yeah, a real cheap American-made revolver. It was just kind of ungainly and ugly. They weren't bad. They just were real low budget. They weren't as nice as a Smith & Wesson. The best one was the 44 Bulldog. That was a harder hitting cartridge. And that was the one Son of Sam used. He used the 44 Bulldog. You get one of those for like less than $100 back in those days. And then somebody mentioned 44 Magnum and his how much that shoots or whatever. I don't really know what the question is. Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum was a large frame revolver, very well made. It came in many different barrel lengths. 44 Magnum was a very powerful round based on 44 Special and 44 Russian. It was expressly made for smokeless powder, which is a lot more concentrated. So they lengthened them so they could not go into 44 Special revolvers. Those were not really combat revolvers. They were hunting revolvers. You don't need that much power for anti-personnel purposes. That's something you use for deer, or it was more of a hunting type revolver. Although some dudes would try to man up and fucking, Dirty Harry and everything, and they're showing him using it like a police pistol. Kind of unrealistic. I mean, the rate of fire is pretty slow. It's a lot of recoil. You don't need that much power. It's more power than you actually need. But they were nice. They were real well-made revolvers. Out of style, though, now. All that stuff's kind of gone by the wayside. Fucking revolvers are expensive and complicated to make. They're mechanical repeaters. Any kind of automatic pistol is far easier and cheaper to make. Far fewer moving parts, and just, you can make them a lot faster.
Holy shit.
Damn!
Thank you very much.
Who is this?
John Robertson.
John Robertson.
Hey guys, I'm watching the Book of Boba Fett, and I feel like I'm watching the sci-fi version of Tom's origin story. Tom, you'd love it.
I've been hearing bad things about it. Is it good?
Yeah, I haven't really, because I want to watch it, so I've been trying to avoid
What did he say now?
anything.
That's a lot.
Jenny, I'm going to purchase your book soon. Thank you. My 21st birthday is coming up. Holy crap, you're a baby.
Yeah.
And going to purchase my first handgun. Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. I mean,
Okay. What state you in?
goodness gracious.
What state you in?
I wanted to mention
Fine.
up here, too, that Gramthars Hammer said that he had been meaning to send us Spring Breakers and Charlie Wilson's War. I promise one day. Charlie Wilson's War is actually really good. I saw that in the theater. That's the one with Tom Hanks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that in the theater. I used to see a lot of movies back in the theater back in the day.
Let me lay some shit out to you, John. So you're going to buy your first handgun. Fucking handguns are, they're a lot. I don't know how much shooting experience you have. They're hard to use correctly in combat. They require more training. They're weaker than a rifle. If you go to a gunfight with a pistol, you're a fucking dumbass. That's the last thing you want to take. You want to take a rifle. What a pistol is about is concealment and portability. If you're a law enforcement agent, you can carry one on your hip, and you're not as intimidating walking around with a rifle, even though they have something like that in the patrol vehicle usually. And they can go about their daily routine of enforcing law. You can have a pistol there. Pistols are good for concealment, but when it comes for self-defense, home defense, you want rifle. And usually for less than the cost of a good pistol, you can get an AR-15, which is, that's the way you want to go. That's where you want to be. So be careful what you wish for. I do not recommend pistols as a first firearm. It's always a backup. That's like a dagger. It's close range. It's emergency only. They require more skills to use properly, and they're not a primary weapon. It's a secondary weapon. Primary weapon's always rifle. It's so much more ability. You can reach out to 300 meters, 500 meters, more ammunition capacity, more reliability, more speed, more ease of use. It's just so much better to get a rifle with.
DJ Maniac says, and I have yet to send you Nothing But Trouble for a review yet. I'll need the new address. Yeah, well, instant message me and I'll send you the new address. Nothing But Trouble, I haven't seen it since probably the early 1990s, and I remember it being batshit insane, and even back then thinking, how much coke were they doing when they made this movie? But I haven't really seen it in a long time, so, because I remember it just being like, what the, okay. Thank you again, John. I'm from Arkansas, and it really is an awesome show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is really, really awesome.
Out in Arkansas, then you got plenty of room out there to practice with a rifle. I'd get a rifle if you don't have one. Pistol's never the first choice. Get an AR-15 or an AK. Right now, AR-15 is the buyer's market. Go with a PSA, Palmetto State Armory. You can get something real nice for under $400.
Everybody's saying
yourself.
Everybody's saying that you should probably put on the mullet wig like as a sort of like weird homage to Meatloaf, even though he didn't. Well, he kind of had a mullet, right?
All right.
I mean,
Right. Mullet time.
It's weird because we only just reviewed the Rocky Horror Picture Show like a month or two ago, even though I'd seen it a million times since I was a kid. But you know,
for the mullet wig. What happened to the mullet wig?
I don't know. You're the one that tosses the shit in there and doesn't put it back the way I bought all these nice little wig stands. How long did that last? Not very long. He just like chucked stuff in the closet.
I don't see the mullet wig.
Well, I don't know what you did with it. I didn't move it.
I see the.
You can just dig through all the other wigs. I don't know what you did with it. It's either right there on that side or it's up on the top.
Okay. Oh, I see it.
Yeah, I was like, all the wigs are in there.
Okay.
I mean, mine are hanging up because I have like the hanging wig stands for the longer wigs, but the shorter ones are just over there on the little ones.
We need to get you on a wig. Why aren't you tarted up tonight? We need to get you tarted up.
I already answered that question.
Oh, did you? You need to get your ass tarted up. I want fucking boobs and everything. Boobs and wigs and fucking...
Oh, shut up. Well, because yeah, and you're the one that whines like every time you have to wear a wig, and then like 10 minutes later, he's like, "This is hot," but he expects me to like wear the whole night. So fuck that.
All right.
It's Friday night. I actually, we're hanging out at home.
Okay.
I want to be comfortable.
I'm going to the restroom. Hold on.
Yeah. They're hot. You know that. And you don't even have hair underneath the wig. I do. So I have to put like a wig cap on, and it's a whole thing. So, like I said, it's easy when you don't have to do it. Yeah, he did have a mullet in Rocky Horror, kind of. He's at the pre-mullet era. He was a man before his time. Honestly, I don't know. Did you guys see? Okay, so he was on. He was in a lot of movies. Obviously, he was in Fight Club. He was Man Tits, and he was also in. Remember when they did? Was it HBO? I think where they did Masters of Horror, and it was like 2 seasons, and they had all of these big horror directors, at John Carpenter and Dario Argento and all these people, and they made like hour-long movies. And I think you can watch most of them on Hulu, or maybe they're on Tubi. I'm not actually sure. But Meatloaf was in one called Pelts. And he was like, he played a fur trader. And what was he doing? It was something about, like, he was catching, like, raccoons and making, like, raccoon coats or whatever. And then, like, he ends up getting skinned. It was actually a pretty good one. He's actually a good actor. I don't know why. I mean, I guess he was in a lot of stuff, but he was in Spice World, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't win them all. I haven't seen Spice World, I don't know. I've seen, like, clips from it, but I don't know. It's one of those movies where I kind of feel like, from a cultural standpoint, I should probably watch it, but then I'm just kind of like, God, there's so many good movies that I have to watch, like, before I get to that. Maybe when I'm, like, 90, I'll get around to it. Yeah, Tammy says, Friday's our casual night to just hang with our friends. No reason to get tarted up. I did think about it earlier, but then I was just kind of like, man, no. I don't feel like it.
This fucking mullet is ridiculous.
It suits you, though.
Because
you are
I went to the
ridiculous.
bathroom with this on.
Well, what are you going to do? Take it off and then put it back on?
Yeah. It's like, I got to put a vest on to take a piss. And then if I could...
Why don't you get tarted up? I keep telling him, why does he get tarted up?
I am tarted up. What are you talking about?
You're not tarted up.
It just fucking happens automatically.
Why don't you put on
it happens automatically when you look like me. You just show
Why don't you put
up.
on some makeup and a corset and some high-heeled shoes and...
Oh, now she's trying
Come
to...
on.
That's like something a tranny would wear. I'm looking in that. I look at the screen.
You look like
Roddy Ryder Piper.
You look like Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt.
Or Roddy Piper. That works too. You need the glasses.
What glasses?
From They Live.
From They Live. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have them.
Oh my God. That's your next year's Halloween costume.
Yeah. It would work. Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know why that never occurred to me before. That would be a great fucking Halloween costume for you to do.
And I'm all out of bubble gum.
Yeah, and you'd have to go around and say, well, I mean, you'd have to say it like every time somebody new came up to you.
Yeah.
I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. You could just wear a shirt that said that, I guess, and then you wouldn't have to like repeat it.
I just need a mic and a guitar now. That's what Jason said. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's just, Tom Piper, LOL.
Yeah.
I don't know why I never thought of that before. But yeah, you could totally do that They Live thing. You could be Rowdy Roddy Piper, and I could be one of the aliens. I could be like one of the creepy, like, I could have on like the 80s power suit and then have like the, because I think they make masks of that, do they not?
They're making fun of me for eating black licorice ice cream.
They're not making fun of you. Tom is here to eat licorice ice cream and wear wigs.
Oh, okay.
And he's all out of licorice ice cream.
Yeah.
So he's just going to wear a wig. I didn't
Fucking
even...
Murder Hornet's sending me all kinds of videos of him fucking with people down at the Mexican border. He sends me all kinds of fucking videos of him fucking with these bums that he meets when he's going through the Mexican border. And what's that dude's name, Murder Hornet? There's this little one that keeps fucking yelling at him, "You lied to me! You lied to me!" Because he goes, "I didn't promise you any money." He's like, "No, you promised me $20. Fucking... And that's fucked up when you're moving from one country to the next and they got an old fucking bum waiting for you. You owe me money on your way into the other country.
Well,
you lied to me.
You know,
ain't that some shit?
It's a good
and he's
angle.
like, I didn't tell you I was going to give you... He sends me the whole video of it. Him walking into Mexico and you hear this little fucking Mexican dude going, you know, "You lied." That shit was hilarious.
Jason says, "Were you guys Meatloaf fans?" Not as such. I mean, like I said, I got how like talented he was. I liked him in Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like I said, I liked his acting. He was great in Fight Club. He was great in like Masters of Horror, and he had like an incredible fucking voice. And honestly, when I kind of feel like when like Bat Out of Hell came out, or that's what it was, right?
I think it was
that big album. With Steinman, James,
it had a good
Steinman, whatever.
He was coming out of
yeah. And I kind of feel like nobody else was really doing that because it was almost kind of like rock and roll, but like show tunes at the same time. And I mean, he was kind of like one of the only dudes that could really like pull that off. Yeah. You know? So
Gabe, that's his name. Gabriel. That's the name of the damn Mexican bum. Gabriel. Gabriel's yelling at him. That's fucking funny. I need to show a video of fucking Gabriel fucking hunting you down trying to get $20 out of you. Hornet. That'd be funny as shit.
Sorry, I just thought of that John Cusack movie.
Yeah.
$2.
Yeah.
With that kid on the bike, like, chasing him for the newspapers. That was Better Off Dead, right?
Yeah.
There's another 80s movie. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about Better Off Dead, even though that was, like, for real, like, one of the better 80s teen movies, gonna say.
You show up in another country and they got a dude waiting for you. Go, "You owe me money. You lied to me. You said you were going to give me $20. That shit's fucking funny.
Yeah, DJ Maniac said Jim Steinman wrote for Sisters of Mercy too. Yeah, I thought he did. Hashtag and now you know.
Yeah.
Does Jenny have a wig? I have lots of wigs.
She got all kinds of wigs.
I do. I usually wear.
Jenny's got all kinds of outfits, man. She dress up. We got pictures of her at the fucking club. I don't know if I've shown them on there. You know, she looked like a damn fucking porn star. I'll fucking show you some pictures. Show you all some pictures.
Uh-oh, he's showing pictures. Yeah. He's showing pictures of me.
I'm showing videos of Jenny's
He doesn't
club.
usually do that. Gramthars Hammer said, "True story, Meatloaf
well, they know
start
what you
in
look like.
Detroit." Well, yeah.
They know what you look like.
I look better when I dress up, but like I said, it's a lot of times I just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of work. It takes like 2 or 3 hours, you know.
There's Jenny when she's dressed up at the club.
That was a mannequin.
Yeah.
There's the hookah pipe.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can get some more Jenny. Okay, this is a good one.
Don't let me forget, but Gary said, "When will we have a How Tom and Jen Met live stream?" Oh, that was my Bride of Frankenstein outfit.
Me dancing drunk off my ass. Look at me.
And I'm just kind of like, yay.
Yeah, she's like, "Get the fuck off me." I'm going, I'm laughing. Like a mule eating briars.
Okay. Okay.
That was a good outfit. That came out good, I thought.
Jenny dancing like the Bride of Frankenstein.
That's my Bride of Frankenstein again. And that's up all my real hair. I didn't even have a wig for that shit.
Yeah. Can't really see that one too well.
Yeah, Gramthars said I saw Meatloaf 3 times in concert. Once in Portland, Oregon, twice in Detroit. Always a fun show. Rock and roll opera. Yeah, I mean, he was kind of like the fucking master at that.
There's Jen with her blue wig on.
Oh yeah, that's my blue wig. I do like that one. But
Yeah.
it is very hot. And it's very long, so it's always kind of like getting tangled and everything. Because I wear like a lot of rings and bracelets, so it's like you go like that, and then like the hair like wraps up in it.
Yeah, it's that same night.
That was before we went anywhere.
No, we were at Chantel's.
Oh, that's right.
We were in Chantel's, and I'm fucking sitting there. I'm trying to get some right there. I'm in the restaurant.
And I was just kind of
At
like,
Chantel's fucking
yeah, I was
restaurant.
like, we're gonna eat. Can you please take my corset off?
I was
so
trying
can
to
just, like,
hit.
eat some food.
I was trying to hit right there in the fucking restaurant. And then this guy, he's spitting.
Oh, they were doing like karaoke.
Yeah.
They used to do karaoke.
That was only a few months back. Look at Jen's boob fucking poking in. That shit right there, that's hittable as fuck. I don't even talk about it anymore.
He's not gonna talk.
I'm not
about
gonna
it
talk about
anymore.
it anymore. Let's see what's okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's a still from that night.
I was still putting makeup on.
Yeah.
I have my horns.
Yeah.
I like my
I'm
horns.
sitting there taking pictures of her fucking booty and shit.
And I was like, dude, I'm trying to finish my
Yeah, I know.
He's so invasive.
I do what I'm doing.
Ow.
No, sorry.
Why are you kicking me?
That's what she looks like.
Everybody knows what I look
That's
like.
what she looked like when she dressed up. And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to molest and shit.
Well, 'cause,
I'm trying to molest.
when I go out, I don't have to wear glasses. I only wear glasses when I do the show because I can't see everyone's comments otherwise. I don't normally wear glasses. These are just reading glasses. So, you know.
All right, let's see what this is. The other shit from the night. That's what goth girls look like. That's our friend Aurora. And Jenny's
Aurora.
up there trying to get in.
With my big clunky shit.
Yeah. We're trying to get into mannequins. That's down Sanford.
Okay. Oh, I got one of me and okay.
Me and Toby.
Oh, there's Toby.
Been talking about Toby all the time. That's my fucking best buddy right there.
That's also mannequin.
It's also mannequins.
You guys were...
We are fucking loaded.
Y'all were really drunk.
Yeah.
It was super fun.
That's the leather daddy I'm telling you about. So my best friends are these fucking leather daddy. That motherfucker. That's the local Rob Halford.
I have sometimes I got videos of fucking him molesting Jenny.
Did you get videos of that? Because he's very handsy when he's drunk.
Yeah, he gets very handsy. He likes girls when he's drunk. All right,
Yeah, he forgets he's gay.
Yeah, he forgets he's gay. There's Jenny and everybody else. This is out in the back
That's on the patio.
on the patio.
There's Andy.
Yeah. And the Gramthars, see the girl in the wig? That's Jenny Jeffrey's little sister that we went to school
Carrie.
with. Carrie, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't really see it.
See if I get some other.
Murder Hornet Return says, I want to go to a goth bar, never been. Oh, they're super fun. Super fun. What's that one?
That's Toby dancing.
There's Toby again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toby's rad. He's older than you are.
About a couple years.
Yeah,
He wants me to train him.
Mid-50s? Mid-50s.
Yeah, he wants me to train him. He wants to get big. He could get big easy. Because he's so lean.
Jason says, Tom is a friendly drunk.
Oh yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Like Gramthars Hammer said, whoa, Jenny, some dope moves.
Was that?
I was probably like, really, because honestly, I don't know, like as I've gotten older, I kind of gotten a lot more. I went through a period where I wasn't as self-conscious, and it's like I would just kind of go out on the dance floor and dance by myself, and I didn't give a shit. But now I kind of like, well, I need to be like kind of half liquored up before I even go out there, because I feel like everyone's like looking at me.
Jason's like, I'm single. I need a goth girl. Then go ahead and pass it up, because the best way to get a goth girl is if you already have a girlfriend. If you're single, they don't want you.
Well, I kind of feel like that's not just goths. That's like
That's
across
all
the
of them.
board.
Right.
Well, because they kind of feel like, well, if you don't already have, or if you didn't already have like some girlfriends at some point, it's like everybody's just kind of like, well, why not? And I'm not saying that that's always legit. I'm just saying that that's kind of like what people will think of.
There's this weird misconception that goth girls are easy. No, goth girls come set on expert.
Yeah, I think they're
set on
actually.
expert.
I think most of them are like harder to get
They're
than
fucking
like
hard to
regular
get,
ass
yeah.
girls.
Yeah. You might as well try to get a what's easier would be like a damn yuppie girl or a preppy girl, fucking, or a lot easier. Goth girls. Fucking,
Well, people have a misconception because a lot of goth chicks will wear kind of like fetishy looking stuff.
Yeah, so you think that's a slut?
And it becomes a fetish.
Yeah.
For people that don't see
Right.
that all the time. So I do kind of feel like there's a thing where dudes are like, oh, well, she must be a slut, so I can like get that really easily.
She might be a slut, but she's not your slut.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
She's looking for a goth dude, and you got to have a long history of it. You have to have an identity in that scene. You know what I mean? It's like rock stars. You know what I mean? It's like rock stars dating each other. If you're not a rock star, you can't get a date. It's like that.
So that's the thing. It's as slutty as some goth chicks look. If you come in there rolling up thinking, because and we've said this before, like a lot of goth chicks get kind of these preppy dudes coming up in their like eyes out shirts or whatever the fuck they're wearing nowadays with the collars, and like coming up in their cargo shorts and and those big ass fucking white clunky tennis shoes that they wear with those shorts, and the shirt's tucked in. I don't get that, but okay. Yeah. And then they come in and they just think they're gonna be like, hey lady, what's going on? Blah blah blah. Can I buy you a drink? And then most of them are gonna be like, no. Yeah.
Hornets, murder Hornets tell me to get Toby on test, get him booked up. This is exactly he wants to go on. He wants to. He's a nurse. So he's in the medical industry. It's just that his fucking hours right now are fucking kicking his ass. He said once this bullshit blows over, he'll probably have the freedom to start going on test. And I put him in a right. I'm gonna hook him up with a decent clinic, because he's got to go through his blood tests. He's got to get his HCG fucking worked out, and I want to train him. I got my own gym here. He would that bitch. He's so lean already.
Yeah.
That he would just.
He has like
blossom.
zero body fat.
Yeah. Right. You would be instant result with him. And he's a little bit older than me, so he knows it's about time. He should have been on. Really, he should have been on 10 years ago. But he's holding up real well for a guy his age. He looks good for a guy his age.
And that'd be cool. That'd be cool if he could like hang over here. I mean, I know you'd mostly be doing y'all shit, but
he wants me to train
we need to start
him.
having some people over hang out.
It's the time. And I have a tendency to want to charge somebody. You know what I mean? Fucking. Because really, by tradition, you should pay somebody at least something for the training. I mean, because it costs $20 a month. Well, yeah, I mean,
it's not free. It's like your time. Right. It's just kind of like, well, it's the same thing that happens, like, because I do graphic design and I do it for a lot of people that work the clubs and stuff, and I don't charge them as much as I would a normal client, quote unquote, that doesn't know me. Yeah. But I don't know. I do kind of feel like there is still a kind of a thing where people kind of want stuff for free or for really cheap.
For y'all who don't know, I do teletraining with Hornet. I've worked with Hornet for how long has it been? Probably 6 months now, and he's fucking coming along great. Okay, he's on HRT, goes to Mexico, and it's over the counter there. And fucking, man, he's coming along good. He's got about another 6 months and he'll be fucking on top of his game. But, so if you guys ever need any fucking online training, we can do it online. Just contact me. And, as long as we can work out some kind of arrangement, I can point anybody in the right direction. Male or female. Good with females, too. Can train them. Got several of them that interested and want to train. One of them be Laura. Laura wants to work out.
I would actually love it if Laura could come over and hang out.
Yeah, she wants to come out.
I haven't seen her in ages.
But Laura,
last time I saw her, me and her and Jen hung out in downtown Sanford, and that was probably 6 months ago?
Laura.
Man, I miss those girls.
Yeah, Laura's, her problem is always finding the time. She's got kind of...
Everyone's really busy, and the thing about it is that we didn't help matters by moving farther away from everybody. I like this house. I'm not, mad about it, but I'm just saying that...
It's only 12 miles further, though.
Yeah, but, I mean, even before, people were kind of like, oh, you're in Sanford, and now we're, 12 miles farther away than that. Yeah. So some people are like, no.
Well, a lot of people do not want to work in a public gym, and because I have a private gym here, it's.
I don't blame them. I never.
They don't have to worry about having somebody watch them.
See this? Yeah. See, this is why I was like, I'm gonna get my own. And honestly, as long as I've had at my old house, like before I met you, I had like one of those multi-gym things. I had a fucking exercise bike. I've always had shit in my own house because it's like I'm not one. Public gyms are gross because you don't know like if somebody's ass sweated all over that shit and they didn't like clean it or whatever, and I don't like being like fucking looked at. I don't like being looked at when I'm just doing shit like that, especially when I'm all sweaty and disgusting. I don't want anybody fucking looking at me. So.
Yeah, Hornet. He said he bulked up and slimmed down. How much? Hornet had he recomped a lot, recomposition. He lost a lot of fat. It looks a lot better. And I'm telling you, Hornet, you're only halfway through it. Next year, you're gonna fucking look twice as good. You know, when you get to our age, man, the hormones aren't there. Hormone replacement, your body responds to what you do. If you go on a diet, you lose weight. If you work out, you get bigger. It's not like that without the proper fucking blood chemistry. It works. Before I went on HRT, I work out. There was some response, but then it got to the point to where I could just work out and nothing would happen. You just get tired. You wouldn't even hardly get sore. You know, and if you did get sore, it took forever to heal up, but you wouldn't get any bigger. You wouldn't enhance at all, and it's because there's just the testosterone isn't there, and it's in men and women, just different levels of it. You could take that shit just on its own, and you get some response, but you'd only get about 1/3 of what you would actually get if you weren't lifting. If you lift and stress the body out, it actually responds because the chemistry's there.
Danny Rolling Ghostface says they say that public gyms are dirtier than public restrooms. Honestly,
probably sweat.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
Because honestly, public restrooms, most places are cleaning them once or twice a day, or maybe several times a day. I know, like, because I've had, I had family members and shit like that worked in restaurants, and they're like, yeah, we clean the restrooms several times, so they're probably pretty clean. Whereas gyms, I kind of feel like a lot of that, I'm sure they clean them at the end of the day, especially nowadays because of COVID, but I kind of feel like maybe back in the old days, they'd be like, well, we're just going to trust the people that use the machines to like clean them off, and I kind of feel like a lot of people probably don't do that.
The problem is the sweat. Sweat can sometimes deposit staph. That's the problem. Yeah. Staph.
So honestly, I was like, I'll use my own stationary bike, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll wipe it down after everything, and I'll put it back in the gym, and it'll be fine. Because it's weird because we have the gym, which is in the room over there, but it just seems it's easier because the bike is light. So I usually like carry the bike in here every morning so I can watch like shit on my laptop, like a documentary or something, like while I'm on there.
Yeah, the new bike.
And then I carry it back in there. I mean, it's heavy, but it's not that heavy.
Yeah, a couple pounds.
So, it's maybe 20 pounds, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe 30
Well,
pounds.
an old gym, an old bike weighed a lot more, like 60.
Yeah,
70.
I mean, it's, like I said, it's heavy, but it's not so heavy that, So I just kind of carry it in here every morning, do my however many miles I do, and while I'm watching something on my laptop, and then I put it back in the gym. Because I don't want to leave it in here because it'd be in the way, but... Because I usually use this laptop, like, to watch stuff. But yeah, I don't... We had you remember we had a gym membership for a while, and we did actually go to that gym that was by our old house.
Yeah.
And
it just becomes a pain.
I don't like it. Honestly, the only thing with the apartment that I lived in before me and you started going out, the apartment that was over in Winter Park. Now that apartment complex had a little gym of its own. And I actually quite liked using that because most of the time, because I worked at night, so I could use it during the workday, and nobody was in there. So they didn't have a bunch of shit. They basically had an exercise bike, they had a treadmill, they had a multi-gym, and they had a rack of, like, barbells and stuff. And you could go in there and they had a pool, too, so you could do laps and whatnot. So I liked to go in there, like, during the weekdays because I didn't have to go to work until 5 or 6 in the evening. And so I would go in there by myself. But if you have to go in a gym and there's like people like watching you, or you gotta like wait for the machines, and fuck that, no thanks.
Most gyms make a living off of people forgetting that they have the membership.
Yeah,
They
I do
go
kind
in,
of.
they get
Yeah,
the
that's why you got to
membership,
sign a contract,
they
because
sign a
they're like,
contract,
well,
they
most
never come
people,
back. They never come back.
and particularly like January, but he's like,
Yeah.
man, I'm gonna lose some weight this year, and they sign up
yeah.
for a gym, and then they'll go a couple times, and they're like, man, fuck that, it's like too much trouble.
Yeah.
But see, that's why I like having the option of an exercise bike or something like that in the house.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people buy exercise equipment, they don't use it. I will absolutely use it.
Most gyms are not real gyms. Most gyms are, it's there. People forget that they have the membership. It's always dead. It makes money off of you forgetting that you have the membership. The people that are in there, they're eating pizza. They're eating free pizza and drinking free soda there that they give out. That was that what was the name of that? Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness was fat camp, and they didn't encourage people to lose weight. They were handing out free fucking pizza.
Well, I kind of feel like
All right.
their whole business model
yes.
was, we want everybody to come in here,
And
like
sit
not
around
just
and eat.
people that
Right.
are.
Right.
So they were trying to like try other things to get people that wouldn't normally go to a gym.
Yeah, which didn't really work.
But, you know.
It evidently didn't really work. A real gym is fucking a bunch of muscle heads and girls that fucking are into muscle heads, and really it's a steroid distribution center. That's what it is. That's a real gym. You know, over down in Muscle Beach, California, it was the prototype of them. You had doctors hanging out in there, and they're selling fucking anabolic steroids to guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger and fucking.
It cracks me. I just think they're coming in there in trench coats, being like, "What do you want, kids?" And they've got like all the fucking shit in there.
Well, they were bodybuilders. The doctors were bodybuilders too.
I know, but it's,
Yeah.
well, I like to imagine it one way. I know that's not the way it is.
That's not the way it really was. The way it really was that
I make shit up
the
for a
doctors
living.
were
That's
bodybuilders
kind of
too.
my whole thing.
But they made a shit ton of money selling fucking anabolic steroids. This is back in the 70s to other bodybuilders, and the shit was being made in Mexico, most of it, across the border in Tijuana, and that's really good shit there. And that's just the way the scene was, and it still kind of is. They're gonna have the gym's gonna be in a damn. You might have a place like Elite Fitness. Elite Fitness, they had one of those, a little private gym, and it was bikini girls and rich
With
guys
machine guns?
in there. No, just bikini girls, not with machine guns, but that's the crap. And
Cramps
but-
fans know what it's about.
Yeah.
You're seen.
yeah, but a real gym would be like in a fucking one of those damn rental places that is all garages. What do you call those things? An industrial park.
Yeah.
Where it's garages, except this one is a damn gym, and it's dark and it's got fans going. It's not even air conditioned, and you go in there and it's just fucking roided out fucking muscle heads in there. They're fucking huge. That's a real gym, and that's a steroid distribution center. Go in there, buy anything you want, because they got steroid dealers in there. But that's just the name of the game, and I think everybody knows. In Florida, they're not real strict on it, because in Florida you can go to an HRT clinic here, and not only get fucking test and HCG, you can get Winstrol, you can get any Decadurabolin. They'll give you anything. They don't really care about it.
John says, I wanted to let you know, Tom, I fully agree with what you've said about rifles and long guns. I've been studying ballistics and stuff.
Who is this?
John Robertson.
That's the guy who was talking. Yeah, okay.
Studying ballistics and stuff since I was 13 or so. I wanted and still want to do CSI stuff.
Okay.
I always kind of wanted to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just out a lot more, so a handgun may be more convenient.
Here's my thing, man. At your age, I'm going to fucking kind of push you away from handguns. You get your handgun, you're going to get fucking tempted to carry it. And if you're tempted to carry it, you're going to be probably not going to have a CCW. And then, and if you do have even if you did have a CCW, somebody's going to fuck with you, and you're going to fucking man up and bow up and shoot a motherfucker. The next thing you know, you're going to be in jail. When it'd probably be better to take the ass whipping than it would be to go through all that legal trouble of fucking gacking somebody over a minor dispute. Because typically it's a minor dispute. If the trouble is real, you're going to want a fucking rifle. Real trouble is usually happening at your house. Home invasion. or your neighbor is in fucking serious trouble, and Europeans like, what the fuck is going on? In the United States, in most places, law enforcement response could take a half hour, 45 minutes. You're on your fucking own out here. This is not city. This is country. In Mississippi, out in Heidelberg, those areas, you have 2 cops, a night cop and a day cop. If you call him, depending on where you are in Heidelberg, it might be fucking 20, 30 minutes before a policeman shows up. And he's going to be somebody who's kind of substandard in training and ability. In the United States, fucking, you take care of yourself. All right, that's real. That's the reality. If you were up in a place like Canada, even more so. Most of Canada's fucking frozen tundra. There's only 3 cities in Canada when you really think about it. And if you got into trouble in Canada, you're on your fucking own. Rifle's the way to go for home defense in most of the United States. Most of the United States is not urban. Most of it is not suburban. Most of it's rural. Police response is fucking long time. And there's all kinds of... Gramthars, who's an ex-retired policeman right there, will tell you there is a shit ton of stuff going on in the rural areas of the United States. Police are never involved. It's solved by people just out there in the fucking wild, like back out in the Old West. Now, within reason. We're not talking about liquor store robberies, or we're not talking about that. We're talking about there's shit that's been gone down between families that live out in the middle of nowhere that are enemies. Fucking somebody attacks somebody out in the middle of nowhere, kills that person. They never find anybody. Just a missing person forever. Never found. The U.S. is a cool place to live, but even out in the rural areas, you gotta fucking have the ability to protect yourself. Just the way it is. And it's always been that way. Geography is dictating reality out here, not laws. Okay, I'm done. Done saying.
Murder Hornet Return says, Jenny, what year was Flesh for Frankenstein? I'm trying to download it. 1973, although I've seen some places call it 1974. And then he says, never mind, found it.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it came out in 1973. Although I think it's on Shudder, but I think on Shudder it says 1974. But I think it actually came out in 1973. So, you know. I might need another drink.
Yeah, make it up.
Is Pookie still sleeping over there?
Yeah, she's over there.
Oh my god. I came into the bed. I didn't even realize she's been sitting. There's a chair over there by the bar.
Up.
And yeah, she's like I came out of the bathroom and I was like, "Hey, Pook," and she was like, "Brah." Hey, don't touch me.
She's very comfortable out here.
Don't touch me.
Very secure.
I mean, she hangs out in this office pretty much every single day. I mean, I come in here and work and she'll like jump on my desk and fart around and like step on my keyboard and be like, "Hey, pet me. What do you do?" Like, stop looking at the fucking screen. Just like sticks her breath. So I can't, see the screen. I'm like looking around her like that. And then she's like, "What are you doing?" Then she lays down. Then she tries to like tear up my papers and pushes my pen off the desk and shit like that. But then after a while, she settles down and falls asleep in the chair. Usually that one over there, but sometimes that one over there too. And she's sleeping in that chair. "Yeah, we're talking about you." She's like, "What? Okay." Man, I don't know what the fuck she was doing last night, but I woke up at, I think it was 4 a.m. or something like that, and I heard, and I was like, "What the fuck?" She like runs up and down the hall, the bedroom. I don't know what she's doing. And I think I said this before, but I bought her this like toy for Christmas. That's one of those. It's like 4 levels, and it's like these little balls and these little, these little fucking, I don't know, but they like go around like that, and you can kind of kick them around. And for whatever reason, she likes to play with it, but she only likes to play with it when no one's looking at her. So it's like sometimes you'll wake up at like 3 a.m. and you hear her playing with it because it's a very distinctive sound. And then if you get up, like to go to the bathroom or something, you look in there, like both of her hands will be on the ball, but then she'll look at you like, oh shit, like I got busted. Like she's not supposed to be playing with it, or she's like embarrassed to be playing with it. I don't really know. It's like the fucking craziest shit ever. But yeah, oh, look at her. She's crazy. Also, I don't know what her deal was last night either. She kept wanting, we buy her these little, what are they? Sheba makes them, and they're like little meat sticks. And she fucking loves those. And Tom keeps them in the drawer in the, the nightstand, like next to his side of the bed. And she knows they're in there. So a lot of times she'll come up to the side of the bed and then she'll start like fucking with stuff. Like she'll go up on the nightstand and like push stuff off, or she'll like start scratching at the wall or something like that. And then she'll like sit there and like look at him, or look at the drawer and then look at him and look at the drawer and look at him. And he's just like, oh, okay, I see what you want. So he has to like get him out. But then you give him to her and then she'll eat half and then she's like, okay, I'll eat the rest of it later. I don't know. It's fucking funny. John Gora says 73 was a good year for horror and porn. I agree.
70s is kind of underrated when it came to, I don't want to say porn, because some of that porn fucking sucked. I mean, the motherfuckers did
We don't like all that pubic hair, yeah.
But there were beautiful people in the 70s. The fashion was kind of cool. If you looked at men's magazines from the 70s, Playboy, Penthouse, Hustler, that kind of shit, they had some really good-looking models back then, and you didn't see as much, plastic surgery, implants and things. They were natural looking. So if a girl had big boobs, she was going to be in there. It was just a different time. But yeah, they had some real good looking models. But that goes all the way back to the 60s and the 50s. You know what I mean? There were some pinup girls from the 50s who were just fucking gorgeous. 40s too. The thing is that a lot of it doesn't survive because there was anti-porn kind of laws, 40s and 50s. So they were all pinup girls from private collections from the California area. They would do little photo shoots, and guys would take pictures of them, and they would trade these pictures between each other. Weird when you think about it, but I guess
they were making stag movies like way back in the day. Honestly, one time when I was in New York,
that was also private collections, most of it.
Yeah, I was in New York in the 2000s, late 2000s, and I went to the Museum of Sex, which is a great museum. If you guys have never been there, if you go to New York City, go there. It's like super fun. And when I was there, one of the kind of limited time displays they had was like stag films from the 1930s. And the way they had it all set up was really cool because they were like projecting them all over the floor and shit like that. And I actually have a DVD somewhere. I think I bought it in New York too. I think I bought it at like one of those like old school like record stores that had all those old like cult movies and shit. And there was like, they had all these like stag movies from the 30s. And it's like, people talk about porn nowadays. It's like that was just. It's obviously the the production values aren't as high, and it's just normal looking girls. They don't have plastic surgery or anything like that. But I mean, the shit was just as like dirty as shit nowadays.
Yeah.
So don't be thinking like
John's
fucking.
thanking me.
Thank you, Tom. I understand what you mean. You know your stuff, and I highly value your opinion. Thank you. When I become king of the world, I want you as my war general.
Okay,
the position is open.
Yes. I will be the Immortan. I will be your Immortan. I just don't recommend pistols for young guys, man. I just don't. You guys are a little fucking hot-headed. I had them before I went into service. 1911s, a lot of them, and 5.86s, which you probably know what those are. Man, as a young guy, you're real tempted to carry something like that. And you don't want to carry something like that unless it's kind of your job. All right?
Young guys really shouldn't be trusted with much of anything.
I disagree.
I'm just saying.
Young guys...
I'm being facetious. I'm just saying.
A young guy is suitable to be in a military or in law enforcement where you've had proper training and discipline, and your desire for action and adventure is being channeled in a creative direction that helps your civilization. You on your own out there, fucking with a gun in your fucking pocket, you're going to run into a situation and you're probably going to go for that gun but that probably could have been solved by other means. Fists or fucking words can sometimes solve some of that. The chances of you being randomly attacked by an armed attacker and killed pretty slim at your age, being a man. A woman might be a different story, but depending on where you live.
Yeah,
but as a man, no. Not saying you can't have a pistol, okay? It's just that you're going to be tempted to carry it. I would recommend a rifle first and work with the rifle and learn everything about rifles. Go shoot them. You're not going to be tempted to carry it. You take it at home. Now, when you start getting in your 30s, you're a little more level-headed. Yeah, you can get you a pistol. And if you feel like for some reason you need your own security, go get a CCW and you can carry it legally. Do not carry dirty. Carrying dirty or owning things and carrying dirty, you're asking for fucking jail time, man. And you're going to get jail time over something that's a minor thing, you know? Statistics have a lot to do with what I'm talking about. Now, if we lived in Afghanistan, or if we lived in Mos Eisley Spaceport in fucking Star Wars, then yeah, okay, that's a different situation. But for now, the fucking average situation for the average place in the United States, a guy your age of your profile shouldn't really be walking around with a pistol. Okay, that's just my. And most dudes don't. They just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't like, as a woman, I don't really like the thought of that.
Yeah. Now, pistol in your fucking car. Yeah, a lot of states that's like that when it's permitted. But why does it have to be a pistol? If it's in your car, it could also be a rifle. You know? And a lot of guys are carrying fucking truck guns. That's a totally different situation. And, you know, if you needed a truck gun because you're in your truck and some shit goes down, then the pistol's the last thing you want. You wanted the rifle to begin with. A small foldable rifle with short barrel. They're calling those pistols now. Like a little fucking foldable jackal, 10-inch jackal, or a fucking collapsible stock 10-inch, or a collapsible hand-braced 10-inch fucking AR. Yeah, okay. Or a little fucking collapsible arm-braced fucking 10-inch AK, crank-off style. Yeah, that's good for a truck gun. Because those were made for vehicles to begin with. Armored vehicles in the Soviet Army, you know, or helicopter type. That's good. You can have that. If these are security type firearms. Carrying concealed. That's what a pistol is for. To carry a hidden weapon on your body. It's seductive when you're a young guy. To carry that into a place. That could cause trouble. The cops aren't going to like it. Okay, they're just not. As Gramthars, he's in the fucking comment section. I'm talking about statistics. Statistically, pistols are for carried concealed, and if you don't have a carry concealed permit, you really don't need one. You don't need one. Carrying on a holster, yeah, okay. If you have an open carry situation, some states allow open carry, you can go that way. That's not carrying concealed. Different situation. Very different. You got a fucking pistol on a holster, you're on a run to the fucking deposit in money, or you're fucking, there's a damn riot going on or something, then maybe, you know what I mean? But nah, if you need a gun, you need to go for a rifle. That's a real fucking weapon. And it'll keep you out of trouble because you can't hide it.
John Gora says Devil and Miss Jones is a hell of a movie. It is, I agree. It is. It's a classic. I mean, come on. Danny Rolling Ghostface says great connection tonight so far. I know, I wasn't I was trying to like not to think about it because I thought that maybe it would like jinx it, but maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay. Beasley says just uploaded She Freak from 1967. You know, I'm kind of into like I don't know, I like horror movies from every era, but there's something about 70s ones, even when they're bad, that there's some, I don't know, it's like some weird kind of like vibe to them. I guess because it reminds me of being a kid. I don't really know what it is. But 70s horror movies, especially like 70s haunted house movies, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
There's just something about that whole vibe to it. Even if it sucks, it's like still pretty good. I don't know.
Hornets asked me something about something with the butt. What is it? Something that everybody goes in the buttstock. What did he say? Everything goes in the stock. Says, I remember the rifle.
You remember those 22 rifles where all the parts fit in the stock?
Yeah. Yeah, the AR-7. That was a Eugene Stoner design. It was blowback 22 AR-7. That started off as a survival rifle for that they were going to put in the injection seats of fucking fighter pilot kits. Once you hit the ejection seat, you came out with that thing. They weren't bad. They just weren't great either. They're around. They would float, too. Everything would go in the stock, and you could throw it in the water. It would float. They had a bunch of different kits for it. I remember it.
I Drink Your Blood is great too. Yeah, I kind of feel like, well, that was always like on a double bill with, it was I Drink Your Blood and I Eat Your Skin. Those two movies were like always, they were at the drive-in like in the 70s. I like actually both of those movies. I like a lot of those really shitty, cheap. Like I said, I don't know. There's just something about that fucking vibe, man. And I kind of feel like, particularly back in the 60s and 70s, I mean, it's not like nowadays, and I'm not, shitting on nowadays, because I think it's awesome that, people that want to make movies can actually make a decent movie for almost nothing, like nowadays. And they have done. Back in the 60s and 70s, you had to fucking commit. You really had to want to make a movie. Because you had to like pay for actual cameras. You couldn't just make the shit on your iPhone, and you had to like pay for all that stuff. And so I'm willing to forgive a lot of the shit because, you really, really wanted to make this movie. It's like, it's unfortunate that it came out the way it came out. And I don't know why, but I'm thinking in particular of like fucking Blood Waters of Dr. Z or Zat, which was also released as, which is some motherfuckers in Florida that were like, we're gonna make some like thing that they kind of wanted to be Creature from the Black Lagoon, but they made it for like $1.98, and it's terrible, but I still respect that though, because at least you still had to pay for the cameras, you still had to pay for like some semblance of crew, I'd imagine. And it was much harder back then. You couldn't really get distribution. You actually had to make a film. Not like nowadays, like I said, where everything's kind of shot on digital. You can make perfectly good movies on a fucking phone. You couldn't do that back then. So you really had to commit. And honestly, I don't know if that makes it sadder, though, because it's like you really had to commit to, like, yeah, we spent $68,000 and this movie just looks like ass. It is just terrible. But I'm willing to give him some leeway. Plus, like, I don't know. There's something about the 70s ones that I love. I don't know. I like the vibe of it. Murder Hornet Return says, I Drink Your Blood was better. I agree. I Eat Your Skin was okay. But, Coach Raylo says, the women were very natural in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. I prefer the older photos of hot women from this era. Yeah, I was kind of like, I remember being in Barnes & Noble like several years ago and seeing like there was this book that was like old Playboy spreads like from the 60s and 70s. And one thing that struck me, not so much the pube hair, because I knew about that, but I'd forgotten about like the tan lines.
Yeah. I thought it was sexy, actually.
Yeah, so a lot of them did have like tan lines, which they would never do nowadays. Even if a model had tan lines now, they would Photoshop that shit out. They Photoshop... Because, I've been using Photoshop for more than 20 years. Every model that you see on the front of a magazine or whatever the fuck, they lengthen their torso. They make their thighs skinnier. They even out all their skin. I mean, the million things that they do to those pictures would blow your fucking mind. Like, all the shit that they do to those people. And it's just really funny because I kind of feel like some actresses, several years back, I think several years ago, like Kate Winslet came out and there was like a picture of her that was on the cover of, I don't remember what it was, Rolling Stone or some movie magazine or something. And she was just kind of like, that's like not even me. She's like, that's not even what that movie, because they stretched her out. They made like her waist skinnier, like her thighs skinnier. She's like, that is not what I look like. So
to me, it's always been obvious that they do that.
Yeah.
Though, because I can draw the human form. I was big into fucking sketching out and fucking, and you can tell,
Yeah.
And me being all into fucking human physique and fucking bodybuilding and stuff, you can see when the proportions are not right. But for some reason, like the general public, I guess they don't look at people like cows or horses or, you know what I mean, or anatomy magazines. They're not real analytical about it. They're more, I guess, emotional. They just accept what they see. You're like, no,
It's
no,
like,
no,
well,
no.
that's hot.
That is,
but that's not what she looks like.
That's not what they
though.
look like. That leg is about fucking 1/4 of a length, too fucking long.
Yeah, it's usually
and
not real
the
overt.
The proportions are not correct.
But they do change the proportions slightly to make them look. One thing that they for sure do, yeah, they for sure stretch out the torso.
The shin bones, they tend to make them longer.
That too.
There's
the fingers,
and then
they make the fingers longer.
And then they make the waist far slimmer than it can be. It can only be that slim if it was corseted. They'll do shit like that. They do things to the faces that are like they'll remove any kind of blemishes from the faces and a lot of shading and. So
nobody wants to see a mole for Christ's
all the
sake,
moles
or
are
a
gone, or right, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But
God forbid we're all fucking human beings.
Yeah.
With imperfections.
It's more art than it is.
Yeah, and I get that.
Than it is anything else.
You know, but
they're trying to sell a product and just have an artful photograph of a human form there. On Instagram, I follow a channel. I think it's called Photos 50s, 60s, 70s. I believe what the name of it is, and whoever runs that is fucking great Instagram channel, and they're just digging up these fucking great photographs of
I think I follow that as well.
Beautiful
actually.
women from that era, and they're not nudes or if they are nudes, they're tasteful nudes, but they're mostly semi nudes. Playboy, Penthouse, fucking pinup girls, going back through the ages, and you just be amazed at how tastes changed over the years, and how photography changed, but you're also kind of stunned by how human beauty is a constant. Is that what people think is beautiful now, they always thought it was beautiful. And that fucking, the beauties of today are not very unique. That was always around.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. If you look at, like, you know, the beautiful actors or actresses from the 1920s.
Yeah, they're still around.
I mean, you would still look at a picture and be like, yeah, that's a beautiful person. Yeah. Like, it wouldn't be like some weird, like, what the fuck were they thinking?
Right.
It's not like that. That's still like a beautiful
another
person.
thing that'll strike you is you'll see photographs from the 50s and the 40s of, in that case of this channel, it's women, of beautiful women from the 40s and the 50s, and they're American, but you realize that they're also ethnic. That a lot of these are Mexican girls or black girls or mixed girls. That they had all that back then. It was not this fucking totally. White Caucasian.
You just didn't see that in the mainstream. You saw that a lot in erotica.
Yeah. I think the 40s, the United States was 97% white, I think is what it said on paper. Whether or not that was actually true, I don't know. I kind of doubt that.
I kind of doubt
that too.
That seems very high.
I think there must have been...
Even for the 1940s.
I think in the 1940s, I believe it claimed it was 97% white. But there was probably a lot of illegal, what we would call illegal aliens.
Yeah, I kind of feel like there was a lot of people that maybe were not reporting.
And that they were always here. Because like if you look at Florida, I've heard people that are not from Florida go, yeah, but then there's all those Hispanics that have moved in. Like, what are you talking about?
They've always been here. They were here before we were.
They were here before the United States.
They didn't come from anywhere.
Florida was the fucking Spanish Empire.
Well, and shit, most of the United States was owned by Mexico.
Yeah,
like that whole fucking portion.
Right. It was the Mexican-American War.
Don't get butthurt about that.
The United States conquered a lot of it. And here's the thing.
They were here first.
And here's another thing that fucking a lot of people don't realize. Yeah, the Mexican army left. But the Mexican civilians that were here didn't. They didn't leave. They stayed here.
It's like, look, this is my fucking house. I'm not going anywhere.
So there's this... When the American army came in... and it started to expand westward during the Mexican-American War. The Mexican army that was here guarding the area was very sparse. I mean, the military presence was next to nothing. We ran in here and said, this is now ours, because it was all fucking contested. Mexico believed it was their territory because they picked up the claim from Spain after the Mexican Revolution against Spain. The Mexican government said anything Spain claimed is now ours. But these are all claims from European empires. Those claims didn't mean anything. Every time you looked around, everybody had a different damn map, and everybody was saying that North America was theirs. You had to fight for it and get in there and occupy it to say, we are here, it is ours. It was all contested. You had Native Americans, but they didn't have a centralized government, and they had been warring with each other for fucking thousands of years. And because they had no means of fucking making any kind of what do you call it, diplomatic arrangements with any kind of empires, and they didn't have the money to fight European empires, the Native Americans were never going to have a fucking.
And I mean, even if they did, would anybody have listened to them anyways?
They would have listened to them because each tribe was only like between 5,000 and 10,000 people,
which is sad.
That's not enough people.
Like what? We've been here for like 10,000 years. That doesn't count for anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was kind of like Germania in the Roman era. It was nothing but German tribes fighting each other. There were only a few thousand of each one of the tribes, like the Helvetii and all these other ones. You know, it was back when we were tribal. That's the level they were at. So they couldn't really tell a European empire that our tribe of 10,000 people has claimed this area. They would just laugh at that. They're like, it's not enough. Not enough. You know, we're a tribe of millions, and we have this and that, and we have guns and whole armies and shit tons of gold and ships and fucking we are an empire and you guys aren't. Fucking, this is our land. Land only belongs to people who have the means to take it. We don't live in a world of right and wrong or fairness. It's all about power. And when you really get down to it, it's power. And most of the power springs from money and gold. So anyway, to get back to what I was talking about, when the Mexican army kind of retreated, they didn't take their civilians with them. They fucking owned that land. Okay? They had houses and all kinds of shit and farms. And it's not like the American government kicked them out. They let them stay. So even from the very beginning, a lot of these states that have large Mexican-American type populations, their ancestors were here pre-United States.
Yeah.
And they kind of became de facto American citizens as soon as the western part of North America was annexed, basically. That's the old school way of doing it. You just take the shit. And they're like, okay, we're in charge now. Y'all can stay good. Everything good. Your army guys have to go back to fucking Mexico City. Okay. And it just changed hands. Well, it was kind of like that with Florida. The Seminoles were involved. There was 3 different Seminole wars, and King Osceola and all of his guys got sent to Oklahoma, which they didn't like that because they had to settle next to the Crow, and they hated the Crow, or the Creek Indians. They didn't like the Creek Indians. The Seminoles and the Creeks were kind of like the English and the French. They were traditional enemies, and one of the reasons why King Osceola and the Seminoles didn't want to surrender is they did not want to live next to Creek up in Oklahoma. Which that's a whole story in themselves. But Osceola is still honored here in the Florida to this day because he wouldn't surrender. You know,
I mean,
I wouldn't have surrendered either.
I don't know if you guys know, but there are in Florida. Yeah. There are a bunch of there's a county, there's a whole bunch of schools and shit like that are named after Osceola.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Tomoka Elementary, which is another Native American name. But one of the other elementary schools in this area was Osceola Elementary. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff, and there's an Osceola County, I think, too.
Yeah.
So a lot of shit is named after him.
Yeah, when Osceola and the very last of the Seminoles, when they got deported, because they didn't want to accept American citizenship. Oh, the other ones did. That's the thing that I think it was 15,000, possibly. I think it was 15,000. That's how many Seminoles there were at that point. In the other 2 Seminole Wars, the other Seminoles became American citizens. It gets kind of confusing. People think everything is cut and dried, black and white. a lot of people rolled and became American citizens. It wasn't really in their advantage to maintain a tribal identity, because the situation back in those days was, if you wanted to live inside the borders of the United States, you had to become an American citizen. You couldn't be a tribal citizen. You couldn't have a country within another country. You didn't have to be an American citizen, but if you wanted to remain an Indian, you had to go to what was called Indian Territory, which was they're asking a lot of them then when you think about it, because now they had to live with their enemies. That'd be like grabbing some people from England saying, we were going to move you to France. Like, oh, fuck that.
That's what I mean, and I kind of feel like there was a perception that when you talk about Native Americans, that it was just this one like monolithic, and it's not.
It's like Europe.
It was a bunch of different nations, and some of them hated each other.
They were fighting for thousands of years,
just like a regular nation would. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, we don't really like being like grouped into the same group as these motherfuckers, because we hate these motherfuckers, and like why, So I don't know.
And they weren't the same race. They all had different ethnic groups. Up in the Northeast, they were people walking across the ice shelf from Europe, and what they called the Clovis people. And, that ended up being, kind of like Canadian and Northeastern type Native Americans. And according to the witnesses of the time, they looked awful European at that time. And then the ones down in the Southwest looked very Mexican, like Mexican Indians, because that's who they were related to. And other ones looked a little bit more kind of like Chinese. And when you go down into even further in South and Central America, because, you guys know that I grew up in Brazil, too. When you went down to real far South American, according to those statues, those people looked very Polynesian, maybe even African. The statues that survived have African features on them. And Africans were fucking seafaring. A lot of people don't realize that, but man, in the prehistoric era, Africans got on boats. And
it would not shock me if they like quote unquote discovered stuff like before Europeans discovered stuff.
So it could be that people like the Toltec people might have had a lot of African roots to them. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Sorry, we were talking about the movies before. We were talking about how I eat your skin and I drink your blood. And then DJ Maniac says, triple feature with I thumb through your magazines. Followed by I steal food from your fridge.
Yeah.
I would watch that movie, not gonna lie. DJ Maniac also says, I preferred the 60s look on women. I like the eye makeup from the 60s, to be honest with you. I like that kind of like that upper cat eye wing thing with like the fake lashes and nothing underneath. I do like that look. I kind of like the big hair from the 60s too, although it's kind of a pain in the ass to do.
Khan of the nation of Aztlan is talking about the future nation of Aztlan. Is talking about something that's on Apple TV. It's called Foundation. It's similar to the Dune. It's an Isaac Asimov
I've heard
adaptation.
of that. Yeah.
I don't know about it. Yeah, sounds good.
I might have read that actually. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. I don't have access to Apple TV. I don't think. I don't have it.
One of these days.
Yeah.
Joe Nash says the reference to Little Joe in the song Walk on the Wild Side is about Joe D'Alessandro. Honestly, I meant to mention that in our Flesh for Frankenstein review, and I might have forgotten, and I feel really bad about that now, because that was one of the things that I did actually want to mention. Because I did mention that Joe D'Alessandro was the crotch on Rolling Stone's Sticky Fingers album cover, and he was also on the cover of the first Smiths album. That was him. But yeah, he was also talked about because, like I said, he was a very kind of a big like underground figure around that time period. So, very big cult figure. Not a great actor, gotta say, but he looked good. So I guess he didn't really have to worry about anything other than that. What was the other thing? Tammy says, the problem is young girls don't realize the models are being photoshopped, get bad self-esteem. I would hope that nowadays, because I kind of feel like that was a bigger problem my generation and maybe the generation following, where maybe they weren't aware of what you could do with Photoshop.
They know now.
But nowadays, I think maybe they know. So I do kind of feel like I've seen some funny shit nowadays, though, because some people who don't really know how to use Photoshop all that, or don't have the patience for it or whatever, and they will take a picture of themselves and they'll try to like make their butt look bigger or make their thighs look smaller, and they'll do it like in a really like half-assed, like really like fucking quick sort of way, and it looks not good. So I mean, if you know what you're doing, you can make it look real, but that takes a very, very long time to do. A very long time. But, he's got his fucking...
Yeah, I'm going straight Conan.
He's going Conan.
Going straight Glenn Danzig.
Or, yeah, I was going to say Glenn Danzig. And I think that kind of like, when I was a kid, I think it bothered me more when I was a kid because I didn't realize until I got older and, like, learned about photography and Photoshop and stuff like that, I kind of thought, you know, these girls that you see in these photos, it's like they look perfect, but, and even like back in the 70s and 80s when they didn't have the technology that they have now.
They had ways of doing it, though. But
they did still have ways of doing it. I mean, now it's much easier. Now it's much easier.
Yeah. Back in those days, they airbrushed.
But they were doing it back then, too.
Yeah.
And I guess, and, you know, much like some people, I didn't really realize, so I'm just kind of like, why don't I look like that? Like, what the fuck? What's the matter with me? So it just... I mean, it is sucky, but I do kind of feel like nowadays people are a lot more cognizant of what you can do with the technology.
Must defend, though, those models from that era still were gorgeous. They just made them look even supernaturally gorgeous by doing so. They were good looking.
That's what I mean. And like I said, nobody's saying that they're taking like somebody that looks like a total complete like fucking
like a toad and
hag or something like that, and making you need something like you need a foundation to work from.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean,
all you gotta do is look at an old
Is it possible? Sure, but it would take way longer. I mean, honestly, the better looking the person is that you start out with, the much easier it is to make them look like supernaturally beautiful. Can you make an ugly person look good in a photo? Sure.
Yeah,
but it's gonna take a lot longer.
Yeah,
a lot longer. So. You know, I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that doesn't mean that those women were hot. Of course they were. But I'm just saying that it's much, you know, nowadays it's much easier to take out everybody's, like, slightest imperfection.
Press a button, the algorithms can do it.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's
just
so easy.
Program, do it easy.
Like I said,
2 seconds.
Honestly, yeah, I have like filters in my Photoshop that just kind of like, hey, let's do a facial smoothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's super easy. So it's like let's get rid of like every single zit and every single mole and every single imperfection.
Well, there's other ones that can elongate you.
That too. And that's what I mean. And it's like, I don't know. That's still kind of shitty. It's still kind of.
They're just taking pictures. Nobody cares.
I know. But, you know, it's it proliferates so much nowadays that I don't really think anyone
I don't care
cares,
about other people's self-esteem. If you haven't figured out that you can twist a photo and do anything you want, then you I don't know what you want.
We're not talking about, like, people that are, like, old like you. We're talking about, like, kids.
No, kids know. Kids know even more.
But like I said, kids nowadays probably know.
Yeah.
But kids when I was growing up did not know.
Right.
So, you know, so that was kind of like, it does kind of sucky. And honestly, like, when you grow up, thinking that and not knowing that, it does kind of like linger into your adulthood. That's what I'm saying. Let's see. What did you do? Kind of also want to talk about Texas.
What do you say about Texas?
Tom, do you see Texas going their own way? It's kind of spelling is weird. Okay, what I know is that Texas was an independent nation, joined the U.S., so can they leave whenever they want?
Yeah. Texas claims in their constitution that they can leave the union anytime they want, but that's kind of a moot point. If Texas decided to leave the union, it would be happening in a world where pretty much everyone was leaving a union, but they would leave the union to form new unions, and people get upset when they fucking hear about shit like this, but there's childish attachments to names and to concepts. Countries and empires have certain life cycles, just like human beings. There's childhood, there's fucking teenage years, there's young adult, and then there's fucking middle age, and then there's old age and death. And if you look throughout history, countries and empires do the same thing. The American empire, as it is right now, it looks like its time is short. I'm not really worried about it though, because the U.S. being divided up into states and the way the whole thing was fucking set up from the very beginning, we're kind of a modular country. The Washington D.C. could disintegrate and it would reorganize. It would reorganize quickly, and it wouldn't be very traumatic for the United States. It would be nowhere near as traumatic as, say, like the Soviet Union falling apart. The Soviet Union wasn't set up like us. It took them decades to recover. The United States could do it in a couple of years. It wouldn't matter, because each state is almost like an independent country. It would be a rough year or so, be like coming off of heroin, because there is some fucking things that banks and corporations do to these states to keep them kind of dependent and to keep them kind of like under the thumb of a fucking kind of a top-down banking system. When I think about it, it's mostly the banking system that kind of worries me. But I think that would work out too. Banking systems, Federal Reserve Bank, kind of. But in an era of fucking cryptocurrency, all that shit's fucking a lot easier to deal with now. Nature would take its course. It would smooth itself out in a couple of years. I'm not worried about it.
Gotta say, though, like, Texas been crying about, like, leaving for, I don't even remember how long. I remember that shit from when I was a kid. I was just like, so go then. Take your ball and go home. If you're gonna, they're not gonna do it.
Well, California is saying they're gonna leave.
That's what I mean.
Everybody's
they're not gonna do it.
Well, it could
if
happen.
they do, it could,
It
but
could happen. It could happen. It depends.
I really don't care if it does or not.
Well, that's not what I said, too. I said...
I know what you said.
If Texas leaves, it's because the whole thing is breaking up. All right. Because you have to understand something. People think that these states are dependent on a central government. They're not. Texas, geographically, is twice the size of Germany. It has twice the GDP of Russia and half the people. Okay, Texas, if you actually looked at Texas would be a fucking very serious country on its own. If there was no union, Texas could whip any other state's ass in this union. It would. Florida would be better than say, England by far. Be on par with Japan probably, or maybe be like that. So, because I live in Florida, I don't care. I don't care what happens. But yeah, shit could happen. The Soviet Union fell apart overnight. I watched it happen. I was on duty when it happened. I wouldn't even worry about the military ramifications. The U.S. Army and its military is immaterial, obsolete by today's standards. Who cares? Even the nuclear arsenal, I don't care about it. It would be divided up or destroyed, and we'd make another one. I don't care. None of it matters. Empires have been doing this forever. If I were to say anything would happen in the United States, it would eventually break into two. The same the Roman Empire did, an Eastern and a Western Empire. You'd have a blue empire and a red empire. That's all. Wouldn't matter. Not to me.
John Gora says, Joe D'Alessandro was supposed to be Michael Corleone. He was up for the part, but they went with Pacino. Honestly, I'm glad they went with Pacino, though, because Joe D'Alessandro, despite his obvious physical charms, not an actor, I'm gonna say. I mean, you know. I really did. I enjoyed him in Flesh for Frankenstein, but I enjoyed him because he was like a blank void of a human being, which I thought was very funny. And I also kind of loved the Brooklyn accent contrasted against all of the clearly European shit that was going on. I thought that was very amusing. But I will admit that I haven't seen Paul Morrissey's other stuff with him in it, okay? Like Flesh and Heat and all that. I've seen like clips of them, but I've never like watched them all the way through. So I do, but he does really seem like a non-actor. So I don't know how well that would have worked in The Godfather. So just saying. You know, he looks fine. Con of Otslon says, also saw just Prisoners of Ghostland. Yeah, we watched that too. Nicolas Cage. I didn't love it. I don't know. I love Nicolas Cage. Not going to say that. It looked awesome. I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know if I just wasn't in the mood for it or I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't get into it. It seemed very, I don't know. It seemed kind of like, Tom compared it to that fucking show. What's that fucking show? Into the Badlands, which I never super, like, I feel like I should have been able to get into that show, but I just couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't connect with it. And I kind of feel like maybe that's what happened with Prisoners of Ghostland too, because it seemed like a cool idea. It's just that, and I liked parts of it, but I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I wasn't like super engaged. That's all. I'll try to like watch it again at some point because, you know. DJ Maniac says, you're aware that with the advances with HD TV, we're seeing a lot more full frontal nudity in old films now because the lighting has been corrected. Yeah. Probably. And honestly, I kind of feel like, did somebody like say this later? Cheryl says, I watched Blood for Dracula this afternoon. Not as fun as Flesh for Frankenstein. I kind of perceived that. I remember liking Blood for Dracula, but I think Flesh for Frankenstein, being the first one, was like way more over the top and therefore more fun. DJ Maniac also says, there's two things you never want to watch in HD, wrestling and porn. Yeah, I kind of do not want to see everyone's pores and nose hairs and shit like that. You don't really want to... Why would you want to see that? Nothing... Everything does not have to be in high definition. Some things should not be. You know. Mr. X Hercules says, women in the 70s were hot. The bell-bottom jeans and the front bangs on the hair. Yeah, I'm into it.
The thing is, though, is that people talk about 70s fashion. There were two 70s fashions, if you go back to the movies and look. There was white 70s fashion and there was black 70s fashions. The pants that white girls wore in the 70s were higher waist. And the bell to the bottom started at the upper thigh. It didn't look that good. Black girl bell bottoms were fucking hip huggers. And the bell started below the knee. It looked a lot better.
Well, yeah, because it's like, it's going to make the bottom of your legs look wider.
And your thighs look a lot better because they were tight. All right, black girls wore tight thigh pants with the things. And you'll check that. People think that all bell bottoms were the same, and they weren't. Go back in those movies and look. What black girls wore looked a lot better than what white girls wore in the 70s. And that was black girl fashion. It looked better.
Well, that's why if you see kind of like quote-unquote blaxploitation films from the 70s...
They're dressed a lot better.
Yeah, their clothes are a lot more like awesome than the white girl 70s.
Yeah, Blackula Scream, the real good fashion, well-made.
Even movies. The shitty ones like the fucking, the PD Wheatstraw and all that kind of like fucking...
Yeah. Which I guess,
Dolomite, all that kind of stuff.
We're kind of mixing it all together.
Rudy Ray Moore.
We're kind of mixing it all together like 70s fashion was all the same. It wasn't. It was ethnic. Black girl 70s fashion was better than white girl 70s fashion. It just was. The cuts were better. But I guess white girls thought that was too revealing, or it was just too much.
One thing that was very strange, and we've kind of like talked about this before, but I feel like in a lot of 70s movies, and this occurred to me, I was watching fucking Laser Blast, which was on MST. I don't watch it on its own, because don't watch it on its own. It's insufferable. But on MST, it was good. In that movie, like, the main character's mom was wearing what I consider kind of like 70s white woman fashion. One, she was like core skinny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how she got into those fucking pants. And the pants were super tight. No VPL, no nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And holy shit, like, how the fuck... And they even made jokes about it. Like, how the fuck, like, does she eat?
Yeah,
I don't really get it.
Now it's all kind of coming back. White girl 70s fashion was kind of more like a Coke whore in Jenkos, if you know what Jenkos were. They were kind of like small Jenkos, which I thought Jenkos were cute when they came out. Jenkos were like, each fucking pant leg was almost like a skirt. Okay.
But
you
as
had
with
to be
everything else, yeah, it
you had to
depends
be
on
young and
who's
you
wearing
had to
it.
be- yeah,
It
you had to
depends
be-
on who's
right,
wearing it.
and they were kind of low rise. They were kind of hip huggers. But white girl 70s fashion were kind of like Jenkos, but they were high waisted and they were unflattering, made your fucking ass look long and skinny.
And even if you weren't,
no.
even if you didn't have a belly, it made you look like you had a belly.
One. Black girl 70s was fucking low rise, hip huggers, tight along the thigh, under the knee, then it belled out, and it usually the bell bottom wasn't very long. It stopped at the ankle, so you could wear a boot, and they had usually platform boots. It looked good. It looked a lot better, and more ass, more thigh appearance, more midriff. They tended not to show midriff. White girls from the 70s didn't, but black girls were showing midriff. And then they'd have like a top with some kind of fucking long sleeves that belled out. And then they'd have a hat on top of an afro. And that was like typical high fashion for black girls. It looked better than the white girl version of it. It just did. There were some exceptions, but it wasn't that particular look. Some white girl 70s fashion was more like gowns. That looked good too, but it had nothing to do with bell bottoms. And nothing to do
I liked the 70s gown kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
like
again,
gown. Right.
I kind of feel like in the 70s, if you weren't like super scrawny, a lot of the stuff did not work on you.
Right. Except the black girl fashion was tailored towards full body figure.
More
Boobs,
voluptuous.
ass, voluptuous, right.
Whereas the white girl fashion was more kind of like
skinny.
Yeah, real skinny.
Ideal. That was the
real
ideal.
skinny.
Right.
Man, I see some movies from the 70s nowadays. I'm like, holy crap! Like that girl must have been like not eating anything. They must have been like that weird fucking Weight Watcher shit, eating like some fluffy mackerel pudding or whatever the fuck they used to put out back then. My mom was on Weight Watchers back in the 70s, and I'm kind of like fascinated by, because I don't know if you guys know, but there was a big thing in the 70s, Weight Watchers, and they had all of these fucking cards, and it had a big picture of the dish and the recipe on it, and everything was like super, because Weight Watchers was really restricted back then. You couldn't have any alcohol, which that would doom me right away. You couldn't eat any nuts. You couldn't eat, there was a fuck ton of stuff you couldn't eat. Pretty much all they ate was like lettuce, cottage cheese, and they would have all these fucking desserts where they made pretty much everything out of like gelatin. So it's like, oh, we're making chocolate pie, but it's basically like gelatin with a little bit of cocoa in it and like some aspartame or something, and it's like this big and it's like a gelatin. How sad is that? How sad is that? But that's what you had to eat. Well, and also cocaine probably helped to maintain this skeletal figure that was seemingly like the ideal in the 1970s. Like I said,
It didn't make sense though.
I don't even understand how white girls fit in those fucking pants back then.
It didn't make sense.
Because the girls were so skinny, and then like you see the pants that they're wearing, and the pants are like tight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how, as skinny as that girl is, how did that fucking girl get those fucking pants on? How did she get them off?
I don't know.
It looks like they're fucking painted on. I can't.
It didn't make any sense to me of why you wanted to look.
It was a thing. It was a thing. Like I said, it was cocaine. It's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it was. I
guess
a sign of having enough money to buy a whole bunch
to
of
buy cocaine. I guess that's what it was.
I don't know.
You were signaling to other people,
you could
yes,
buy
I can
cocaine.
afford lots of cocaine. Thank you very much. Or I never eat.
But I know my porn history. See. And a lot of the fucking porn and magazine girls that were real popular from that era were still the fucking voluptuous.
Because the mainstream beauty and the porn beauty
were different.
Were two different things. Not so much nowadays. Now I kind of feel like it's like coalesced. But back in the old days, it was like two different. You know, you had like what in France they would call back in France they called the demi-monde.
I guess so.
You know what I mean? The half world. That was like a subculture. So the porn, they liked more voluptuous women, but in the mainstream, it was always kind of like these really super, super scrawny. And that kind of happened again in the 90s, too, because I kind of feel like heroin chic was
Yeah.
kind of a thing in the 90s where everybody was like super flat and like super, super thin. Other than Cindy Crawford, she was pretty voluptuous. But you know what I mean? Other than that, it was just kind of like everybody looked like, hi, I'm on heroin. You know what I mean? Everybody looked like they were just like about to fucking die. So, I don't know. It's a thing. It comes and goes. So, kind of Otson says, Jenny, are you familiar with the Sandman series? Netflix is making it. I don't know much about the lore, but the trailer looked good. It's a graphic novel. I have read the graphic novels, you know, if you're talking about the Neil Gaiman ones. But I didn't know they were making a series, so I'm kind of excited about that. We'll see. Cheryl says, I love Blackula. I do too. I mean, Blackula and Blackula Scream are so fucking good. Kind of Otson also says, also guys, watch the Deep House. I wrote it down. I did. I wrote it down over there because I do actually want to watch that. Kaylin says, thank you for acknowledging Laser Blast's existence. Laser Blast, holy shit, you guys. My favorite thing about that, like I said, I've never watched it on its own. I've seen it on Mystery Science Theater many times. The aliens look like turtles without shells. And for whatever reason, I love that whoever made the movie decided that they were going to give them these weird, big butts. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, it's a hilarious movie. Don't watch it on its own because it's probably lame. But watch it on MST. It's good.
Victor says a lot of those states that depend on federal government, all those poor states in the South would be third world countries. Actually, that's kind of a myth. That might have been true back in the 70s or part of the 80s. But the South now has all the space programs, all the manufacturing the U.S. used to have, including Tesla now. That's all in the South. The South is in a real good position now. And another thing is that if you're talking about welfare, the population that's on that here is actually pretty small compared to, say, California or New York. There's not very many people here. It's sparsely populated. And if you were to stop welfare, nothing would happen at all. Because we didn't have that in the Great Depression. And we didn't even have that really to speak of when I was a little kid living down here. Most people just grew food out in the back of their homes. You could live on nothing in the South by self-generated agriculture. The South is starvation-proof. It went through...
Not my experience, but okay.
Yeah. No, you just go back... Well, it depends on how you're living. In Mississippi, you'd just go back to subsistence farming, which my grandparents' generations all did that. You don't really need a car. You don't need television. You don't even really need electric power to survive. Those are all luxuries. You know, people had no problem living here in the 1800s just by doing that. It's just that it depends on what you're talking about. What is modern living? That's what it is. Luxuries are luxuries. You don't actually need them. You don't need cell phones. You don't need computers. I mean, I can live that way. I lived that way for years and for years.
You don't make your living on a computer either. I mean, I do.
But
So
if you didn't, well, the thing is, if you're you're living on a computer, then you're not on welfare. You know.
I could use some though.
Yeah. Everybody could, just the way it is.
I'm not shitting. Look,
you're in
seriously.
$500,000 house, she could use the welfare.
I'm not paying for this shit though. I'm like, I just pay a little bit for it. It's just kind of like, I know, but Jesus Christ.
It's all right.
It's just kind of like, I feel like you have this thing where, I mean, you grew up pretty privileged.
I think so.
Yeah, you did, compared to me. So, I mean, your parents were never on food stamps or anything like that.
No.
Mine were.
Yeah.
So I'm not shitting on anybody that needs that shit because shit, man, if you're eligible for that, take it. Fucking take it.
But, okay, just trying to set Victor straight.
Oh, okay.
When the Soviet Union collapsed, there was no welfare. Okay, people tried to survive however they could. It got barbaric. A lot of people died. But dying is a part of living. You know, just because you're alive.
I'm sure that'll make everyone feel better, Tom.
Okay. just because you're alive doesn't guarantee you anything. we live in a savage world.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, okay.
Why don't you go live in your little Mad Max fantasy?
It's not a fantasy. It's a
And
reality.
we'll all be. It's not though.
It is very much a reality. Brazil was pretty much that. It's kind of the way Brazil was in the 80s. Most of Central and South America is like that. It's just that you haven't really seen it. You'll see. If it happens here, you'll see, and it's actually makes a lot of sense when you see it happen. It's a lot less traumatic as you actually think it is.
Kanavatsan says, Tom, it's in your mind. It is.
Yeah, it's all in my mind. Well,
It
we were
is.
talking about that off the screen. No, he knows. He knows.
Well, he tells me dumb shit all the time. Like, every time, like, I think something, and he's like,
Yeah.
well, it's in your mind. I'm like, well,
in your
duh,
mind.
where the fuck else would it be?
It's in your mind.
And also, I gotta say, like, this is going back a couple hours.
Yeah.
When I was talking and you interrupted me and been, bah, 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 I don't
Yeah.
appreciate that. You do it again, I'm gonna hit you.
Go ahead and hit me then.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
When did I interrupt you? What were you talking about?
Earlier, like we were talking about ice cream flavors.
When was this? Today?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I don't remember.
Like 2 hours ago.
I'm drinking.
So am I, but I remember too.
Okay.
Don't fucking do that again.
I do what I want to do.
No, don't do that again.
I do
I'm
what I
telling
wanna
you
do.
right now.
Okay.
I know where to bury you.
I do what I... What's that?
I know where to bury you,
know
where no
where to
one
bury
will
me.
find
Okay.
you.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
So, don't do that shit again.
I do what I
I'm
wanna
just
do.
telling you. Ugh, here we go. All right. Cheryl says, fight? Yeah. I mean,
She's been drinking.
so have you.
Yeah.
But you do that, well, you did that shit like several hours ago when you were still ostensibly sober.
Okay.
And I don't appreciate it. So,
Okay.
just saying. Yeah. Kanavatsan says, maybe you're seeing the multiverse, dude, to be fair.
That's what it is. Just multiverse.
Yeah. So, that's what I'll listen to you. Victor says, end of the United States as we know it bad for the economy. It probably would be. Honestly,
Economies aren't that...
look,
Fuck
I'm
economy.
just kind of like,
Fuck economy.
look, I'm just kind of deal with, as I said, I grew up fucking broke. I'm used to being broke. I don't like it, but whatever happens in the larger,
You can
economy,
only deal with the shit. That's all.
it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
well, I don't like it. I worry about it because I don't want to starve, but
You wouldn't starve.
but I'm just gonna like deal with whatever happens. So I don't really like, because Tom really likes to get into these whole big things. Oh, this is gonna happen and that's gonna happen and this whole fucking thing's gonna
It could.
collapse. And I'm just kind of like, why? Honestly, he gets on my case for like worrying about shit. It's like, why are you worrying about that though?
I don't worry
it's just,
about it,
you are though, because
Nah.
that's all you talk about. It's like, I'm not going to worry about it because what the fuck can I do about it? One, nothing. And two, it's like, I'm broke anyway. It's like, how the fuck could it be any worse? I'll just
never-
live in my car. I don't give a shit.
I'll never starve. I'll bring Angel over here and she'll give me some rabbits and I'll just grow some rabbits out in the back.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'll live in my car and I'll just like fucking just scrounge out a dumpster. I don't
Why
give a
would you
shit.
live in your car? You can live here.
Well, we'll see. We'll see
Oh,
how
you
that
gonna
goes.
leave?
No, I'm just saying that it's
So
like,
you're gonna leave?
What if you died?
You just stay up in here.
If you died and
what
then
happened?
then I ate you.
Look.
And then after I eat you, what am I gonna do then?
When
when Mad Max happens and
No,
like
there's no Mad
fucking.
Max. Where are you
Well, yeah,
getting this?
Because you just said that.
No. I'm
You just
joking
said it was
around.
like
I was just joking.
Mad Max right now.
When hap-
You just said that
I was
literally
joking.
like 10 minutes ago.
When Brazil collapsed, what ended up happening was
Right, but-
nobody had money for anything.
I know you've
so
said
what
that
ended
many
up
times.
happening is that nobody paid for anything. Nobody paid for anything because there was no way. It was everybody. If it happens to you, it happens to everybody else.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And then they had to reboot
so
the
I'm
economy.
like not worried about it.
Yeah, so I don't.
Everybody's
no.
broke. My ass is
Okay.
broke.
Okay.
But like I said, literally less than 10 minutes
remember
ago,
when that shit happened.
you said reality was like Mad Max, and I was just kind of like,
I remember when that shit
no.
happened. I remember when that shit happened.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
they
a
were
different.
testing it out over there.
Look, it's a different situation. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, cool.
We'll see.
Whatever. It's just kind of like,
Similar.
don't worry about that stupid shit.
I don't I'm in this bitch now.
You do.
This bitch is fucking
Worry
closed.
about it, because that's-
I signed for this bitch. I'm here now. It's gonna take a whole army to get me out of
He
here.
says he doesn't worry about it, but that's all you ever fucking talk about. That's all you talk about.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of like, look, I can't do anything about it. I have no money. I have no power. I have no nothing.
Since she has no money, she makes money every month.
Well, I do, but like only enough to like pay my bills. I don't like have extra or nothing.
Okay, all right.
So it's like,
I have extra. Okay.
But you know what I mean? So it's like if some shit went bad, if we don't have the internet anymore, then obviously I'm fucked. So
we'd work something out. We'd work something out.
Kaylin says, tell Tom that blank is just a ploy by the government as a ready counter argument. Yeah, I should probably do that. John says, this stream is better than any reality TV. And Cheryl says, Jenny's incredibly tolerant. Yeah, tell me about it.
Man, this is tolerant. You guys
first time I've ever seen you lose your cool. Oh, I do.
You guys don't know the fucking deal.
All the time. I just try not to do it on the live stream, but you know what I mean. He pisses me off like all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
Because of that shit that you do.
I don't do anything
when I'm talking. And that wasn't even about anything significant. That was about fucking ice cream flavors. All I said was, yeah, licorice ice cream, that can like suck my dick or whatever the fuck I said.
You don't know what you're talking about, licorice ice cream. Licorice ice cream is fucking awesome.
It's not. I mean, I'm not saying this like I do not like it.
Licorice ice cream.
I don't like it. Other people can like it. I'm not going to ban it or nothing. You can like it, but don't do this thing where it's like, oh, well, that's the best thing ever, and you obviously suck because you don't like it.
That bitch crazy.
That's really lame.
That bitch crazy. Fucking black licorice ice cream was fucking shit, man.
Well, black licorice is... No.
Lower your voice.
Hush.
Now she's yelling. She's yelling.
Don't gaslight me.
Okay.
Black licorice is an acquired taste. Some people like it, some people do not. I do not like it, but I understand that some people do like it. If you like black licorice ice cream, then by all means, have all of it. I'm not having any. So it's kind of like, you can have my portion if you would like. But...
What are you doing to Pookie? Look what you're doing to Pookie. Look what
she's sleeping. What are you talking about?
You're upsetting her.
She's not upset. She's sleeping.
Okay.
She doesn't even know what's going on. She's over there going...
It was a distraction.
It's not. But thanks for like trying to like make me seem.
Yeah, that bitch crazy.
I love how you do that.
That's how I did. That's how I played it. Hold on, let me see what everybody else is doing. Fucking crazy shit.
Look, I'm on your games by now.
No,
I know what you.
I
know what you fucking do. I know what you fucking do. Kanavatsan says, "Well, look at the bright side. If the world collapses, you don't pay for the house." Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
And people are going like, "Well, it's easy to say that if you're living off the fucking government." No, when the shit falls apart. If the shit falls apart, nobody can pay for anything. Go back and read what happened during the collapse of the Soviet Union and all the Eastern European societies. Fucking what happened in Brazil when I was there in the 80s. Most of this shit's scam. If it goes bad, it's not bad just for you. It's bad for everybody. And the fucking system just kind of grounds to a halt. And the meaning of money kind of vanishes. One day I woke up in Brazil and saw nothing but fucking money blowing through the streets like it was fucking leaves. And everybody had thrown their money out of the damn window because it wasn't worth anything. And they had to fucking get rid of the Cruzeiro, and they came up with a thing called a Cruzado. And that took a while. And then fucking 5 years later, they came up with a thing called a Real. They kept changing the money because the fucking zeros started to get more and more. It's like some shit out of Zimbabwe or something. But people survived it because it was happening to everybody at once. People couldn't pay for anything, but nobody could pay for anything. So you couldn't make your rent.
In some ways, it's kind of like I don't know if this is true, but honestly, it's kind of like when the pandemic happened. It's just kind of like that sucked, but it sucked for everybody in the same way. Yeah. So it wasn't as bad. I know this is like weird to say, but it wasn't as bad as like some really bad shit that just happened to you.
Exactly.
Because nobody would like understand. No. It's like, look, I had this really bad like traumatic thing happen. Like I lost all my money or whatever the fuck. And it's so at least you have like some people to commiserate with. At least there's like a larger context, and you have other people to like. That know what you're going through. So there's that.
People think that when a financial collapse or something like that happens, that it just happens to them. No, it happens to everybody. And when that happens, it's almost kind of like a great evening. Everyone's at the same level, whether you're poor or rich.
Which I guess is why I don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I worry about it now, but I worry about it more when everyone else is doing okay, and then I'm like, well, I'm not doing okay.
Yeah, no.
So this is like, no.
When it actually happens, it happens to everybody, and everyone is now on the same level. The rich people and the poor people are all both broke. None of them can buy anything. That kind of happened when in Europe with the Black Death. A lot of people got killed off. The fucking economy collapsed, and then all of a sudden, the rich people had to pay peasants to do work. There wasn't any more serfdom anymore. Yeah, because.
And I
love
it.
Have any money to
well, it's
maintain
kind of
serfdom.
like nowadays because they're kind of like, oh, we can't find anybody to work at fast food restaurants. I'm like, gee, I wonder why, because that was like a fucking shitty job, and people are like, yeah, no, fuck that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The problem with the
Seriously.
fast food restaurants wasn't the pay; it was the hours. They would not.
Well,
give you
it's
40
both.
They wouldn't give you the 40 hours.
Exactly, because
They'll give
they
you
don't.
10.
Well, they don't want to like
They don't
pay
wanna-
for your health insurance.
Yeah,
is why.
right.
I had that same thing happen, and I didn't work in fast food. I worked in like media or publishing, and they would always try to like cut you down. Oh, you're only 35 hours this week. You don't qualify for health insurance. It was like always that
Yeah.
kind of like.
The secret is
they
to
were-
disconnect from the system and try to make money fucking in the black
I mean,
market.
not everybody can do that though,
That's
but
what
I
you try to
mean,
do.
yeah.
That's what you try to do. You want to make money underneath the table in a black economy. That's what you want.
Victor says, haha, back in the old days when the show was pre-recorded, Tom would always talk over Jenny, and now Jenny's threatening to eat him.
Bitch, shut up, Victor.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get my own back, you know. I'm a person, too.
Nobody said you weren't a person.
I get to talk.
You can talk. Of course you can talk.
But, you know, like I said, I'm just trying to, like, kind of get my own back against all of the... Even earlier on this show. Licorice ice cream, bitch. Licorice ice cream.
Which you want me to leave the show?
No, you
I'll leave
talked
the show,
about
you know.
talked about that, and then I
I'll
was
leave it.
talking about. I was like, I don't really like licorice ice cream, and you went like this. You went burr, 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 like making fun of me talking, and I was just kind of like, okay,
Okay.
all right, well that's nice. So
I'll leave the show if you want.
let's not do that.
I'll leave the show if you
Let's
want.
not do that.
I'm going to leave the show, people.
Oh.
I'm going to leave the show. Jenny's got it. She's got it under control.
Well, I mean,
She's got it under control.
I'm the one that does all the work, anyways.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm
So,
going
you
to
know.
let you do it then.
Cheryl says, craziest thing about the pandemic is loss of small business. That has kind of like sucked a lot. I get it.
Yep. That was
Okay.
the idea, though. They tried to do that. The people at the very top made all the damn money. They fucking doubled their money. This was all planned.
No, it wasn't, but okay.
Yes, it was.
Uh,
I believe it was all
Victor
planned.
says, here's some money, Jenny. Getting it to you before Tom mutes me.
Yeah,
And
okay,
then
all
he's
right,
like
all right,
laughing.
all right. I'm gonna let Jenny do
Kanavatsan
this.
says, Tom, you need to show Jenny your sensitive side. He
Yeah.
doesn't have one.
No.
He doesn't have one.
No.
He's just a jerk.
Yeah.
What wig are you gonna put on now? You gonna put on the Mozart wig?
No.
Put the Mozart wig on. Kaylin says, probably better to raid camp in warehouses and stores, especially if you're an employee with access to the building. Yeah, I mean, you know. Cheryl says, this show needs you both. It does, but...
Nah, I'm leaving.
Okay. Aw, he's being... Aw, he's such a snowflake. He's such a snowflake. He got mad and left. I don't know. So we've been going almost 4 hours, and I'm kind of, like, hungry, I have to say. So I'm going to go get something to eat. But thanks for you guys, like, hanging around. I'm just laughing at how fucking sensitive he is. Yeah, so... And Pookie, like, Pookie's, like, sleeping in the chair over there, and she, like, literally does not give a fuck. But, yeah, so... What's it? Okay, it's Friday. So tomorrow, we're not going to be on tomorrow, but I will put up a review tomorrow, and then we'll probably be back on Sunday. We watched Alien vs. Predator Requiem last night. And I will say right here, I thought that I had not seen it, but when we started watching it, I did see it. I think that back in the old days when I used to work at the newspaper in Daytona, this guy I worked with named Al, he used to like rent movies and then, make copies of them illegally. So he would like loan them to me. And I kind of feel like that was one of the movies that he loaned to me because when we were watching it, I was like, wow, this is like really familiar. We'll say not great, but honestly, maybe this is a controversial opinion, but I do kind of feel like that one was kind of better than the first one, although it was very dark and I couldn't tell what the fuck was going on. But I couldn't tell what the fuck was going on in the fight scenes in the first one either, so I don't know. But we'll probably talk about that on Sunday. We'll see. Maybe. And honestly, I want to watch the rest of the Archive 81 series as well. Why is my phone ringing? Okay. My phone's ringing. But yeah, so we might talk about that too. But Tom hasn't been watching it because he didn't really seem interested. But I think it's really good. So we'll see you guys again on Sunday afternoon. Thanks everybody for dropping by. Thanks for super chats. And we'll... Oh my goodness, bless you. She sneezed. We will see you guys on Sunday afternoon. Tammy says Tom is a jerk, but we still love him. Yeah, it's kind of like... It's a conundrum, isn't it? But yeah, we'll see you guys on Sunday afternoon. Thank you for dropping by. Bye.